This ought to be different. Okay. Alright, that should work. Hey, Golden Seed, how's it going today? Hey, Wizard, hey, Cram. Oh, come on, no poofy today. Be nice. Be nice to me, please. Please be super nice. Hey, what's up, more or less? Hope you're doing well. Might as well have a cough drop before I go to it. I give people a few minutes to pop in, of course, and then kind of go from there. Gotta tinker with a few things. Chat should be visible to everybody now. So yeah, should be pretty good. Yeah, I got the mixed chat. You can see what's going on. I'm concerned about trolls popping up, but we'll deal with it as it comes. Give people a few minutes to get here, and then those who have questions, I'll kind of prioritize them from there. April, come on. I'm not a flash tuber. Also, will I be using this in other streams? Undecided, I don't know. My biggest concern is going to be about trolls, Golden Seed. So, if it's not a concern, then I can keep it up. But yeah, today is a trial. Oh yeah, April, question for you since you're here. I have to assume... No, wait, there was you, April. You posted one thing. Was this you? Was this you? Was this you? I'm like, oh, conflict avoidance. Totally never? It wasn't you? Oh, okay. Yes, we banned them. Yeah, Golden Seed. Of course, that would be the case for like trolls popping up in chat and whatnot. But I haven't like fully tested or fully figured out like fully figured out chat box things. It's unfamiliar territory for me, and truth be told, I just haven't put in the effort for it, and I'm hoping I don't have to. But yeah, April, so you're asking about conflict avoidance here. The Gaki did. I'm sorry, not you. And then it's like, what do you do? What do you do, streamer? I do lots of things. Anyway. But yeah, how's everybody? I behave myself every stream, you know this. I mean, you know, I guess you're right. I guess you do. You have a perfect record of behavior. Perfect. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's okay, but I say that because we know how my fellow Gakis on Twitch are going. Can we not have this Gaki sense of... No camaraderie between Gakis, okay? Yes, April, spotless. But yeah, I got 12 responses. I'll give people a few minutes to come in, but then otherwise I'm just gonna start. Hopefully people show up. I hope people show up. It's as clean as you keep your 53 Gaki figurines. Are you serious? Are you actually serious? Come on. Killing me, yo. Yeah, it's implied though. It's implied. You know what, April? Maybe I should just not answer your questions at all. Maybe that's what I should do. How about that? Do you like that? I think you like that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You already got my humor out of them? Okay. But yeah, give people a few minutes to come in. Might as well message people on Discord. Yeah, I figured out how to make it transparent. I can do it right now. But I thought it kind of looked a little icky. Like, I can have it transparent. But I chose to have the background because I found that the text is kind of like a little hard to look at. So I put a respective background to make it work kind of well. Is this the Underworld DLC? Absolutely. Right, April. That's the thing. It strained my eyes too, and I was trying to tinker with it. But again, this is just this is a first draft of everything. I just needed it good enough for now, and then I'll address things as things go by. All right. Very nice, Wizard. Very nice. So I'll start in I'll give people 2 minutes to pop in, and then I'll just go straight away with the questions that were asked first and from people who are here. So most likely I'll have to take a look at who submitted things, but I'll take a pulse. Just decide you're pivoting to relationship consultant. There's no I've been a relationship marriage coach for like the past 2 years. I have clients already. This is just something I'm doing for Twitch or for streaming, and I'm just kind of like bored. So I wanted to do something more fun for me and help people out. I just wanted to change. All right, 2 more minutes. But yeah, it's just something I do professionally. My long-term goal is to become a therapist, so I actually have training, proper training, I have a license, have all that accreditation, all that safety stuff. Did you start from the red pill side? I'm not a fan of red pill stuff at all. I think it's actually really bad in general. But I think back in my early 20s, I did kind of get into that a little bit. I didn't go down too far down the rabbit hole, but I was like into the whole pickup artist shit very briefly, and then I realized like this is kind of messed up. So I left it. But damn, it is quite the rabbit hole. It is pretty bad. Red pill is not healthy in the slightest. I'm very like anti-red pill. And it's red pill stuff is ugh. Okay. So, all right, now that it's time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just see if the people who responded to things in chat or submitted forms and whatnot were here. I'm just going to go in order. If you're here, just let me know in chat so that I can address your question first. If, obviously, for those that aren't here, I'll deal with their questions much later. I'm prioritizing those who are in attendance, basically. So, if you are here, so don't do it like how Nino is doing by calling me Poofy. So, but let's see who submitted things. So if you're here, just let me know. And I'll go in order. Okay. So, did this submit it in order? All right. So I don't think these are listed in order. Soulpool, if you're here. So if you're any of these people, just say like here. Soulpool, April, I already know you're here. Crimson Panda, if you're here. Fiend Busa, Mr. Good Cat. Cram, I already know you're here. Don't know who Codex is if you're here. Ninu, I see that you're here. Ahiru, I don't think you're here. Scampus, whoever Scampix. Zeta, I don't think Z's here. And of course, Gaki. I should just strike this one off the record. So, all right. I guess we'll start. I'm going to start with the individuals, kind of going in order. So, Good Cat, I don't see you at this time, so I'll come back to you later. Crimson Panda, I don't see you right now. Fiend Busa, you're not here just yet. Soulpool, I imagine you'll probably drop by in like an hour, but not yet. I don't think Ahiru is here yet. Nino is here. Okay. Excuse me. So this will go off to an interesting question. So the question was, what are your thoughts on asking permission to kiss somebody or someone during the first dates? Is it cringe or actually cool to do? And what about more other intimate things? So for me, hey, what's up, Rattle Monk? So for me, what I would say is that when I see this type of question, immediately my brain's going to go towards something deeper. And that's generally what I would recommend to focus on. Because whether you engage, so here, I'll have a little whiteboard. This is going to be interesting. Oh, come on, Canva. Do Canva things. So if we think about just intimacy in general, right? What I noticed in the question that I would encourage you to focus on, Ninu, is to focus less on the act of intimacy of itself and more about how to have discussions about it and kind of any sort of concerns you have related to that. So we have, on the surface level, it's like, okay, sure, hey, concerns about intimacy, right? But right away, what I noticed is that, like, oh gosh, stress about asking in the first place. For me, the deeper issue is, hey, can you have conversations with whoever you're talking about whatever concerns you have may have about intimacy? That is the much bigger and more important thing to have. Because for me, is it cringe or actually cool to do? To me, the answer to that question is it depends on who you're talking to. It could be cringe for somebody. It could be cool for somebody else. And there might be certain things about intimacy, whether it is kissing or other more intimate things, whether it's things related to sex, for example, where it's going to have to depend upon whether the two of you are on the same page about things. Because, yeah, I'm sure many guys would be like, hey, is it okay for me to, like, try to kiss somebody on the first date? I don't know, is it awkward? Do I initiate this? Do I initiate that? And it's like, bro, like, I got no fucking clue. It depends on the individual. Maybe there is somebody who matches that and is like, yeah, I really want to go for that. But then other people might be like, no, that's not cool for me. I want to wait to engage in more physical, intimate acts or sexual acts, like, way later. And then obviously if you initiate early in that point, they're going to be like, oh, bro, you're coming on to me too strong. And so one thing that, Wizard, that you're saying is about it depends upon the mood. That mood, when I hear statements like that, I think of like, well, again, are the two of you on the same page? But then the deeper question is, can you have questions? Can you talk about that in the first place? Can you and whoever else have conversations about that in the first place? And to me, that's where I would put the bulk of the focus on. Do I feel comfortable enough? So here, I'll put another thing. Is there enough safety? So there's a theory so I usually ascribe to the emotional safety theory about relationships. And it's pretty important to me. But to me, before I can even think about whether or not I want to, say, get intimate with somebody, I need to know I'm comfortable with them in the first place. That's a big thing. I think overall women are a bit more attuned to this compared to men. Men will deny it, but men will be like, oh gosh, well, she's just hot. Like, stereotypically speaking. Men will be like, oh gosh, she's hot, so I'm in the mood. It's like, yeah, but that's because you're comfortable. If you weren't comfortable, you ain't doing it on some level. Unless there's other things going on. But if you and whoever else you're talking to can have discussions deciding like, hey, are we comfortable going to this new territory about intimacy? If you can have conversations related to that and feel like both of you are seeing more and more eye to eye over time, in other words, dealing with the stress about asking for intimacy, that goes away altogether. Now, let me make that cleaner. Then you don't have to worry about it. Then instead, you can find, I guess let's see eye to eye, or shared perspective. Shared perspectives, you can say it's alignments, whatever you want to call it. And once the two of you can align on things together, then any issue, not even just intimacy in of itself, is just a cakewalk to deal with. But without you having some sort of mutual agreement, some sort of alignment, if both of you can't navigate and discuss things together where you're on the same page, where both of you feel like, yeah, this is the way we want to go, this is how we want to deal with conversations related to intimacy, this is how we want to actually deal with intimacy. If you do not have this, then being intimate is not, even if you do get intimate, it's going to introduce so many other issues in the first place. That's how I see it. So, for me, I think the bigger thing for you to focus on, if this is something you're thinking about, is whether you can talk to somebody about this. If you can't talk to somebody about this, then, in my opinion, going to, I guess, proverbially the next step for intimacy is probably a bad idea. I'm sure many people can relate to someone pushing them too hard for intimacy. And they're like, well, maybe I should do it because insert reason why. And it's like, but do you even want to, bro? And do you want to? And from my own experiences with my time with clients, more often than not, women feel pressured to do so than men do. But it's not a concern if you feel like you and your partner, whoever it may be, whoever you're curious about, you can feel comfortable talking about with it, and both of you can slowly have a shared perspective on it. But sometimes intimacy is the only thing that people have. Well, to me, I'll put it this way. If intimacy is something the only people have, in my honest opinion, that's a very, very thin, a very shaky foundation for a relationship. Very shaky ground. Because think about it. Would you rather, like... So, physical and sexual intimacy, like, if that's something someone only wants, then to me it's like, bro, why don't you just hire a sex worker? If that's all, if that's the only thing someone could provide, then to me, it was a general question, heard about it in a video, and shocked that people would even ask. Fair. Okay, then it looks like, I gave you information from a totally different perspective. My apologies. I guess then if you're asking in a general case, I'm going to say it really just depends on the individuals. Some people are very comfortable with physical intimacy out from the get-go. No harm, no foul, no judgments about that. And some people are not. So it really just does depend. But in my opinion, is this going to be on the VOD? Pain, this is already recorded. Yeah, it's all going to be on VOD. So, but again, if someone asks, so I guess, I need to know kind of where you're coming from, which is, it's a general question heard about in a video and shocked that people will even ask, right? So if it's of distress to you, if you wouldn't like this, then if it's cringe for you, then like, don't engage. Like, don't. I mean, for me, like, personally speaking, I'm like, no, I'm right there I'm kind of with Wizard about like, talking about this something right away is a bit too premature for me. It is something that I would want a lot later. On a first date, it's like, I'm kind of just trying to get to know the person first. Me thinking about like any sort of physical intimacy is like very, very, very late stage. Like that's just not my personal concern, all things considered. I'm like, if I'm going for a long-term relationship, I kind of have a lot more pressing concerns than like, hey, or like, are we gonna physically or sexually align? I'm like, that's so like even figuring that out. I'm like, I don't know, that's like months away at the earliest. I just need to know, hey, do I actually like this person as a human being? If that isn't satisfied for me, if I don't have this ingredient here, if I don't feel comfortable with them, if I don't want to spend time with them, if I don't want to hang out with them, then I don't give a shit about intimacy. Like, it's just fuck it, it's out. That's my personal perspective on it. Can things theoretically... So this will tie into something Brand is stating, actually, that I actually agree with quite a lot. So, I think so, Wizard. I think Nino's just asking a general exploratory question from the perspective that you share as well, and that I share as well, which is like, I don't want to get intimate with somebody that I barely even know. And just to be like kind of a little extreme out there, bro, like if I don't even know a person, I'm not gonna jump in bed with them because God forbid STDs. And I don't even want to get into the contraception thing. I'm like, bro, I'm going for a long-term relationship, not like a one-night stand thing. Now, with that being said, I'm going to tie this into something that both April and Bran have both said. Is it and this is a question I've been asked before. Is it possible that like you could theoretically jump in bed with somebody or kiss somebody and you could have a beautiful relationship? Absolutely. How likely is it? Not very. Not very likely. To me, I view it as, oh, if that happens to work, like, you know, the love at first sight type of thing, you are incredibly fucking lucky. Because in order for that to happen, it's like, okay, it's like taking a gamble. Because it assumes that both parties have incredibly good relationship skills so that they can navigate things already. And in my personal experience and professional experience, that just does not happen. Misunderstandings are common. So if that couple can address misunderstandings straight out of the gate, then they already had a good shot no matter what. And it's a separate thing. And that relates to what Brand is talking about in terms of one true love. I agree. It is a very unhealthy perspective. I like, and that's a big thing. I'll talk about like, I'll make a whole thing about love and my personal model for love, and that I think brings a lot more fulfillment and happiness to people, and satisfies what I think is the emotional like roots of the whole one true love type thing. Anyway, so I'll get to that in a moment. And I want to focus more on what April is saying, which is, hey, I agree that intimacy is shaky for a relationship. Maybe not as foundations for a first date for some people, though, but probably depend on the person, right? And more often than not, right, it's a big risk. And as Wizard, you are saying, first date is all about getting to know their person, asking questions. There is also what are the goals for people, right? And if people don't have shared goals, intimacy out the window. It's just whatever. It's just too risky. And even as Jack is saying, getting older and making you more mature makes it easier to find someone you want to be the rest of your life, right? Usually at that point, you most likely, and unfortunately it's not a guarantee, will have a lot of healthier relationship skills in the first place. We'll understand how to like be more mature, and that maturity carries a lot of weight. Because you'll probably find people who are also mature and are also very understanding of what it takes to create a proper relationship in the first place. So before I kind of segue into what Brand's point is about what Brian's talking about true love, one true love, kind of unconditional love. Is there any like follow-up discussion you guys want to have about this? Ninu, did I address your question in the way that you liked? Did I miss something? Let me know. I'll give chat a moment to, of course, mention something. You're satisfied with the answer? All right, awesome, thanks. Appreciate that. So one thing I'll just, Indian men, 90% arranged marriages. Dude, I'm so jaded against Indian men. That's because I've had Indian clients, and it's like, that's all I'm gonna say. At least the toxic Indian clients that I've worked with, I'm like, oh my god, I know why your wife is leaving you. It's so obvious. Anyway, so one thing I'll mention is is about like true love, right? Or let's just talk about soulmates in general. All right, I personally think the concept of soulmates, it sounds nice, but in actual practice can lead to a lot of problems. Soulmates, in my opinion, also kind of gets lumped in with unconditional love and whatnot. I actually do not think that unconditional love is a healthy model for romantic relationships at all. At all. I think it's appropriate between like parents and kids, parents to like unconditionally love their children, like no matter what, and like to always try to do like be, you know, sacrificial in some sense for their kids to make sure their kids have a better life. That's a very different dynamic compared to romantic relationships. And here's why. There's a few things. So one, the way that I think about it is, well, when it comes to soulmates, you start setting some up, you start chasing perfection. All right. It's like for example, with one true love, oh, I have my soulmate, right? So if my partner and I don't line up in every perfect way, our relationship is fucked. If we have one disagreement, we're fucked. If our life goals do not align, we are fucked. And that's it, it's over. I guess I'm not meant to be with this person because they don't fit this incredibly strict criteria. The thing is, you're never gonna find the perfect person. I'm sure you've heard like, hey, don't look for the perfect partner or whatever. A soulmate, then a car comes by. My understanding of soulmates, there's only one person in the world that is for you. In my opinion, there's too many people in the world. You could have multiple soulmates. It's not that hard to get along. And I think, Wizard, you've made a great point there in saying it's not hard to get along. Right. I think when people are chasing the idea of soulmates, they're searching for a feeling for when it comes to feeling chosen, for having that feeling of a perfect relationship. But more often than not, what happens from what I've seen in my line of work is that when people latch on to soulmates excessively, ironically, they never find the happiness they're looking for because they're not willing to put in the work to create a good relationship that would give them that feeling anyway. Like, they argue a lot, or they fight a lot, and they're like, oh, and they're like toxic in certain ways, or they blame their partner in specific ways, or they do dumb shit, or they're like, oh, well, I'm not really feeling it for my partner, so I'm gonna go cheat on them because I guess if they really were my soulmate, then I would feel totally attracted to them 100% of the time, or we'd get along perfectly all the time. We'd like all the same things all the time. Right, it's an ideal that doesn't exist. And they're putting this whole idea of a perfectionism on a human being, which is too much pressure, and ironically just creates more and more chaos. And people will just go from soulmate to soulmate to soulmate. Or think about that. I've seen this in the case of divorcees, where guys will be like, oh, well, my wife or whatever, she was too difficult, so, and that's why we didn't work out. And I guess she just wasn't right for me, so let me find somebody else who treats me amazingly. And then relationship problems occur, because that's what happens in life. Problems happen. And then they're like, oh, well, it didn't work out with this person. Let me like monkey branch to another girl. And just like keep going. And then they're like alone and miserable and sad. And then like, well, I guess romance is dead. But if you scratch the surface on the person themselves, it's like, bro, you're a bit delusional. You do a lot of toxic things. Nice car thumbnail. I know. Kitty was amazing. I love my kitty. Maggie is amazing. So, but instead, if people focused on trying, it's like, you guys have heard of like the grass is greener on the other side, like the grass is greener phenomena. I lump that in with soulmates. Of course, the grass is going to seem greener on the other side if you're not watering your own damn lawn. What I'm encouraging people to do is like, dude, just water, like, make your lawn really fucking good looking. Water it, take care of it, invest in it, make it so good you never even have to think about looking at any other person's lawn ever again. You don't care how green someone else's grass is, because yours is as, you can control how amazingly green yours is. So I discount soulmates entirely for that reason. If you put in the work into your relationship with someone who's also like on a similar wavelength as you can have an amazing relationship. So for me, just thinking about, oh, I can only ever have one true love, and if it doesn't work out with this person, it meant they weren't my one true love, is just a fucking trap. Right, Wizard, you made an excellent point too. Faster to work on the relationship and yourself than finding the one person who somehow ticks all the boxes for you. Right. There is this like almost inherent assumption that when this person is chasing soulmates, that they're the perfect soulmate for somebody else. And it's like, I don't think so, bro. I don't think so. So, I do not like soulmates. No way. But the flip side of it is, if you're doing as Wizard is talking about, which is where you work on yourself, you work on the relationship, and just make that a part of who you are, to just make things better and better in your relationship over time, make your life better over time, the amount of satisfaction you're going to get easily trumps the drug high that exists from soulmates. Easily. So it's if you really want some green grass, water your own lawn. Stop chasing other people's lawns. There you go. And that touches into also, I'm going to touch now into unconditional love as well. Actually, I'll hold on to that since you guys are talking about soulmates still a bit. How do soulmates and true love compare? If someone falls in love at first sight, then if they don't agree on everything, they may still call them soulmates. Well, what is love? That's a big question, actually. And I guess that actually does segue into unconditional love versus what I will talk about, which is very much conditional love. Can I copy this? Conditional love, I am 100% on board with for romantic relationships. I think it's a smart play. All right, it's really freaking simple. All right, you're gonna be like, whoa, man. Conditional love sounds so bad. Nah, bro. Put it this way. Conditional love. I am with my partner provided they treat me right. And we treat each other right. And we treat each other well. And we make our lives better. If that condition is set, I'm with them. If they treat me like shit, if they're abusive to me, I'm out. I don't... That's it. It's super complicated. That's really about it. So when it comes to how to... people can fall in love at first sight. And to kind of tap into Disillusion's question, it's possible to get into arranged marriages and for it to work. It's just evaluating that would really depend less on the immediate like jumping into a relationship or falling in love at first sight as to whether they have a good skills. So let's take Indian families, for example, when they go for arranged marriages, right? Assuming they're doing it well, it's usually, from my experience, going to be two families who already know each other really well to a certain degree. It's very clear that they can handle conflicts with each other or with one another. You know, the good families type of deal. I'm not talking about like money, and if parents are marrying off their children for money, is probably a bad idea. I think it's a terrible idea for love anyway. But if it's like, oh, the family has a healthy history of good relationships, the family has a healthy history of treating each other well, it seems like they're prospering emotionally and in a health regard, and it seems like the kids have inherited a lot of good times or good behaviors from their parents, and same as us with our own children, our own parents, and we kind of have that like our huge systemic like inheritance of relationship skills. If that's there, and then the kids decide mutually, like, hey, like, I don't know this other person, but I trust my family. I get along really well with my family. I actually get along with the other person and their family or something like that. Then yeah, we can go ahead and get married and we'll make it work. If they're on the same page and they have healthy relationship skills, it can totally work. But I'm sure you've also heard the stories in which arranged marriages are like totally loveless and dead and empty and so on. In the same way where we've heard of relationships where it's love at first sight, and then sure, it can work sometimes. But then we've heard lots of cases where like, okay, I think this person's a little delusional and they're chasing a drug high. So it's kind of like that. To me, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. And it's just a safer bet. It's a safer bet to just practice good relationship skills and create a relationship from the ground up. It's like creating a business. If you have like a good family business, actually, let me not use that analogy. It's going to go to shit. I'm going to butcher it. How do soulmates and true love compare? I kind of lump them into the same thing. To me, soulmates, oh, true love, like the starry-eyed, the like rose-colored glasses for saying, oh, this is my one person and they're perfect and everything. I like worship them. They're my soulmate. I'm like, okay, I think we're going a little off the. We're going off into a la la land over here. Something I figured out when I was around Tony is that we can find multiple soulmates in life. Once we do it, it is our job to preserve that special connection and grow together. I love what you said there. It's our job to preserve that special connection and grow together. Exactly. If you can preserve that connection and grow it together, you don't need this shit anymore. Because you can get that feeling that you probably would want in a relationship where you feel like, oh, I found my soulmate, or we were meant to be together. The feeling that comes with that, the feeling that comes with like, oh, the movie star, like love stuff. You can create it. Why roll the dice on love when you can make it every fucking time? Who cares at that point? So yeah, Bloom, I think what you said about preserving the special connection and growing it together, ideally until we die, is fantastic. Especially because people change and evolve over time. Not gonna stay like, hey, like some people, like this is a simple example I think people can understand. It is that at some point, usually people decide, hey, we want kids. You gotta change. You gotta adapt. Okay, I'm gonna be a father now. I gotta like be involved in my kid's life, and I have to like reorient the way I live my life and change how I do things so that I can be there for my spouse and for my kids in the best possible way. I gotta change what I do and who I am. And likewise, the other partner would adapt as well. And usually when there isn't that adaptability, surprise, surprise, and they can't work together, they can't make things work out with one another, conflicts arise. and the relationship starts to decay because people aren't trying to preserve that connection they have with each other. They're not trying to grow together anymore. It's a big problem. But if you have the ability to adapt, to grow, and to change, and to work together with somebody else, oh, you're in good shape. Problem solved. All right, so question is, are you against divorce in a failed arranged marriage? Not at all. Not at all. No, if I actually think having the option to divorce somebody is necessary. Without divorce, people can stay in really bad marriages, women especially. Hey, lady. Hey, Poofer. Good to see the talking stream and appreciate the fused chat display. I'm glad it's of value to you. Thanks, I had crazy BPT for almost a decade and I wisened through the hardships. Hey, you know, we all have lessons we have to go through in life, myself included. And we can either choose to learn from them or we can keep making the same mistakes. It happens. In relationships, it's like arts proficiency. It takes conscious effort to keep it going. Man, you beat me to the Neo analogies today. Lady, that was impressive. Exactly. You gotta make sure... If you aren't maintaining arts proficiency... Imagine this. Now I'm gonna make this silly. Imagine in Neo, if you're like, alright, I'm gonna play the sword. And the sword sucks. Arts proficiency doesn't last long enough. The sword is bad. And it's like, bruh, do you know how arts proficiency works? Do you know how to chain different martial arts? Sword damage is shit. I'm like, did you chain 6 different ones? Well, no, but it's too hard with sword because sword isn't the weapon for me. And then, like, have literally any other Neo player be like, bruh, this is not that complicated. Here you go. Oh, but what if they attack? Sword doesn't have good moves for that. I'm like, bro, you can use stuff like Swift Step Heavy to, like, dodge attacks and do some kick-ass stuff. Or you can use Sword of Meditation to hyper armor through everything. Or you could, I don't know, deflect during Arts Proficiency. You can do a lot of things. But then, surprise, surprise, if you have the skills to understand how to use Arts Proficiency with one weapon, you can do it with all of them. And so at that point, it's not a matter of like, oh, it's just not the right weapon for me. It's like, you get to choose what you want. I like Arts Proficiency with sword more than I do with axe because I enjoy sword more for its moves. So, get good, in other words, get good at relationships and you'll be good at any relationship you choose. So if you can't play the sword in Neo, you should get a divorce? Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Oh, totally. But I think you can appreciate how silly it would be for someone to discount the sword when they don't understand a lot of the nuances behind samurai style, behind arts proficiency and deflecting. You'd be like, dude, you're just dismissing the weapon without really fully getting it. Which is something I said about ninja style stuff, which I was like, dude, I don't fully understand ninja style yet. I'm not going to dismiss it without fully understanding it. Once I understand ninja style, and it can really put it off to a level that I'm proud of, then I'll start evaluating it. And surprise, surprise, my evaluation of ninja style is so damn fun. I really like it. I think it's great. But imagine if I had dismissed it because like, oh, on the surface, it just looks too dumb. Same thing. All right, so statement, Poofer, I want to know what you think about the famous say you need to know how to love yourself to be able to love someone. Ooh, this is a great question. For me, I think it's not always true. The person I'm with, for the last 10 years, maybe understand at loving myself. If I followed that advice, maybe I'd still be hating myself. So I think this relates to a big topic in general So what is self-love? I think we can relate this to self-esteem. All right. I probably have some questions related to that, so... Okay. So I break down self-esteem and people would put self-worth into self-love and loving yourself, etc. I break it down into 2 parts. So I've heard of it as self-esteem and self-efficacy, or in simpler terms, in case you don't want to go down the psychological rabbit hole, We can go into self-worth or confidence and self-efficacy and competence. In other words, self-esteem isn't just how good I feel about myself, but how good I am at actually doing the things that I might feel good about. Fioxen, I love it. I love the analogies, you guys. So, with what Saiter is saying, you can't just love yourself to feel good about yourself. That's in a vacuum, that don't mean shit. Put it this way. I can tell myself, oh, I am such a great Neo player. I'm such a good Neo player and I deserve to be treated well and get all the praise from Team Ninja. Hold on, what's the difference between the two? Great question, Wizard. I'll get to that. So here, hold on with my Neo analogy. For me to consider myself a great Neo player, for example, and I consider myself a good Neo player. I don't consider myself perfect, but again, that's not something I'm aiming for. I'm like, yeah, I'm a good Neo player. I know that. I do a pretty good job. And notice I say I do a pretty good job, and I'll talk about that. I'm comfortable confidently saying I'm a good Neo player and thinking, yeah, I would deserve some sort of attention for that. And I can say positive things about myself related to things related to me and Neo. But I think the reason, and if I were to say nothing else, I'm pretty sure those of you who are fans of my Neo gameplay would say, yeah, dude, of course, you play Neo really well. You make some guides that we found useful. You did shit that kind of proves it. Like, yeah, dude. You're the guy we look to for guides on Neo. You have pretty cool gameplay. Whoa, that was epic gameplay. You did cool shit. You're a competent Neo player. You have every right to feel good about yourself. So yeah, you're a good Neo player, bro. Feel good about yourself. But if I was, say, a shit player, let's say I couldn't even I refused to key pulse. I refused to key pulse. I never changed stances, never changed styles. Let's say the only thing I did was mid-stance samurai play. And all I did was quick attacks. Let's say I didn't make any guides. Let's say I didn't do anything, really. But then all of a sudden, if I said, no, man, I'm the best Neo player in the world. I'm so good. I can beat these bosses with just one button play. I think the most positive things you folks would probably say would be, well, congrats, you beat the boss, but I think you have a bit of an inflated sense of self to think you're the best Neo player when you lack competency in so many areas. So that's kind of like so Wizard, does that make sense? Kind of the distinction between self-worth and self-efficacy? So how good I feel about myself, how I regard myself versus like my actual skills at something. Let me know. Because I need to get to Saiter's part 2. Nope, doesn't make sense. Are you bullshitting me? If it genuinely doesn't make sense, let me know. Because I do not trust you. Stuck on the meaning of the right one? Okay, alright. Self-worth is just think about it as your feelings towards yourself. How you feel about yourself. The traditional version of like self-love. Love yourself. Treat yourself. Be nice to yourself. Say nice things about yourself. I think that's usually the more traditional version, a definition of self-esteem. Does that make sense so far? Just the one on the left. Okay, great. Makes sense. Self-efficacy is your actual abilities to deliver on creating and doing something good. Are you the evil low-tier god? I don't know who low-tier god is, so maybe. So with the Neo example is, so for me to be a great or good Neo player, sure, like, what are you going to focus? How are you going to determine whether somebody is good enough as a Neo player? Are you going to evaluate how they feel about themselves? Or whether they have the actual skills that are representative of a good Neo player? I think more often than not, you would say, dude, they need to play well. It's the same thing. Like, if you want, like, if you, that's what I mean about self-efficacy and competency, our ability to actually deliver like a good product, to actually do good. It's really hard for someone to demand. So we'll talk about the self, like I understand self-esteem issues people have with self-worth. We'll get to that in a moment, but I want to make it clear that what this is. Look at the facts, as you always say to people talking weird, let's see your gameplay. Exactly. Exactly, Wizard. You make a great point there. If someone's like, oh, I'm the best Neo player, I'll be like, all right, I want to see it. Show me. And what usually happens? More often than not, usually somebody who's like, oh, I'm so amazing, who feels this need to boast excessively about their skills, is compensating for their lack of capabilities, their lack of competence. Because at that point, if you know your skills are good, you don't need external validation to like hit that, to tell you that you're good. You don't really depend upon it. It's nice to have it. Like in my case, I'll watch people's gameplay. So the left one is just opinion, the right one is facts. I wouldn't put it in that distinction because both are important, because a lot of other chat members are saying, hey, what if so there's an inflated sense of self-worth. Self-worth is important. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're usually less inclined to try and take risks and do things of that nature. Self-worth is important. I'm talking about people who have an inflated sense of confidence, and you can say they're like narcissistic in nature. Self-worth is important, but if you don't have the skills to back it up, self-esteem is going to crash. Self-efficacy is in my opinion, the limiting factor. If you're more competent about something in general, your confidence will eventually follow suit. In other words, get good at something, you'll usually feel better about yourself. Now, some of you have already mentioned in chat that, hey, I can be super fucking good at something, and I did have questions about that as well. I can be super good at something, but I always still feel like shit. I never felt like I've done enough. Self-worth is dependent on your self-efficacy, truth be told. They all depend. It's a ginormous loop. How can I do this? How do I delete? I press delete. God damn it. I need more experience with Canva. Truth be told, it's a feedback loop. They both go hand in hand. Feeling better about yourself can sometimes lead you to take more risks and to be more confident in taking and doing something that can help you get better at something, which then helps you feel better about yourself. So then you take more risks to actually get better about something, and then to feel better about yourself. They go back and forth. You know, like when you're fighting a difficult boss, right? You're fighting a difficult boss. And there's that moment you're like, oh shit, I suck, I don't feel good at this boss, and like, oh man, I'm a little dejected. But then sometimes you're like, you know, you might try something, and then you realize like, oh shit, I actually pulled it off. I learned something. I got better at something. Oh man, maybe I can beat this boss. Maybe I can accomplish this goal. I feel like I'm a better player now. Oh, okay. Oh, well, now that I've learned this in this boss fight, now that I understand like deflect timing in this boss fight a little bit more, I think I can actually overcome this challenge, because if I just learn a little bit more, I'll become a little bit better, and I feel more confident to take a bigger risk. Okay, I learned something, now I feel even better, and it just goes back and forth until eventually you beat the boss. Or what I try to do in my case is like I try to fucking master it per my own criteria. So, Wizard, does that make sense? About the relationship between your competence and your confidence and how they can both work with each other hand in hand. And the critical thing being you have to nurture both. Just feeling better about yourself ain't gonna do shit if you're getting evidence that actually you ain't shit. If you aren't getting certain results, if what you are doing isn't actually building towards your goals, if you aren't getting data which supports that. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there and go back to Scyther because he wanted to talk about how it pertains to relationships. What I was trying to say about that phrase is it's that looking for a relationship is not necessarily the real end that you only pursue when you have your life resolved. Correct. You don't have to be perfect to have a great relationship. Relationships, yeah, I'm on board with you. They're just a part of life. You don't have to be perfect to create a relationship. No one's perfect. No one, and I don't think any of you, when you're, say, looking for a partner, for example, are looking for someone to be perfect. Or if you are, then that's kind of an issue. I actually do know people who kind of chase perfection, but usually it's a symptom of a problem they have inside themselves, about themselves. So yeah, absolutely. You don't have to feel like above the moon, perfect, have your life totally figured out before you get in a relationship. But what I would caveat that and say, if you generally are on a pathway towards improving your life, like as long as your life is improving, you're making a difference in your own life, and your self-esteem is growing, you're fine. You find somebody who also is also growing their lives, improving their lives, doing better things, creating things, giving, and so on. Yeah, it'll work. It'll most likely work. If you can if you're with somebody who can work with you, who can grow with you, who can resolve conflicts with, so that both of you feel more comfortable with each other over time, both of you have more fun with each other over time, have more respect for each other over time, and feel like you're sharing a life goals together, a life vision over time, and of course the intimacy part is just getting better and better, then yeah, you'll be totally good to go. Relationship is just a part of life. People get kids. It's an important facet. It's an important part of an individual's life, but it is not the only thing. A relationship is not going to magically solve your problems. I think people can attest to this when we look at people getting divorced, parents who it's very clear probably should not have had children. A relationship will not fill the hole in your heart. No matter how hard you try. Because you're trying to fill the hole with something that only the individual can fulfill themselves. Relationships cannot make you whole. Like, if you're in, let me put it a different way. If you've been, relationships can present an opportunity, though, for you to heal yourself and grow yourself, but it's not the same thing as, like, it's saving you. For example, if I have experienced a lot of trauma, a relationship won't save me. If in terms of me dealing with whatever depression I might have, or let's say if it was a particularly traumatic childhood with PTSD, you can work through those things in the relationship, but the relationship again is the opportunity for you to do it. Your partner isn't going to like magically heal all those wounds that you have in yourself. I think some of you can probably attest to how someone may have been cheated on in a relationship, and then they go into a new relationship, and it's like, you know, because the other person isn't doing everything to placate them perfectly, that person who's been cheated on like loses their shit all the time, and you're like, okay, I think this person is looking for the relationship to heal them and putting all these unfair expectations on their partner, and their partner slowly is just like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Because this is a little problematic for me. I don't want to be with somebody who is taking out their unhealed trauma on me. I think I want to leave. And then the unhealed person or whatever is just like, I knew it. I knew you were going to leave me. You're as bad as everybody else. And it's like, I think the individual just needed therapy. So I hope that makes sense and addresses kind of what you're talking about, Scyther. But yeah, you don't need to be perfect to be in relationships. You don't have to be perfectly healed to be in your relationships, but you should be on the process. You should be in the process of healing that. And you can use your relationship as one avenue to assist you with that. But it's again, a part of life. If like, let me put it another way just to make it sound extreme. Imagine if my entire life, everything about my life was in service to one person. One woman. Everything, every aspect, everything I think about, everything I talk about, every single thing, what I do, how I act, everything is defined by one person. I think a lot of you would say, bro, that seems a little weird. I'm sure you've heard of men obsessed with women. I'm sure you've heard of women obsessed with men, or vice versa. Either she be a lucky woman or a lot of pressure on her. More often than not, it's a shit ton of pressure. But even for the individual, let's just talk about for the individual going for it, where everything about their entire life is centered on another person in a romantic relationship, it could, in my opinion, carries a huge risk of that person losing their sense of identity. Like, I remember, like, kind of like the... in Neo contexts, isn't Kunimatsu, he has a demon of obsession his whole life. Like, what's his whole shtick is like he's jealous of his brother, and he loses his fucking shit and destroys the shogunate in Neo 3. He has the demon, his pride, his envy, his obsession is consumed over his brother. And it's like, bro, what about you and yourself and your own talents? Why don't you like nurture yourself? It's like a little weird. And we're like, bruh, relax. Lay off the crucinite. It's kind of like that. So that obsession towards a person is very unhealthy. It can lead people to do some terrible things. And at best, it's just a disservice to the individual blossoming their own selves. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me catch up to some other things. Because there were a few statements. I think I may have missed some. I'm going to double check. Okay. Okay. So Lady had said, I will say about self-esteem, Poofer, I feel like we have a lot in common in terms of growing up with heavy academic achievement pressure, right? So I'm going to touch on what Lady said about what can happen when someone has very, very high self-efficacy. Like, they're really good at what they do, but they feel like absolute shit for it. I think that was a pretty common question I got asked. Like, hey, no matter what I do, like, I never feel like I'm good enough. To me, that indicates if someone isn't feeling good enough, despite their competency is very high, it usually means, so one, their self-worth is low. But my thinking about that would be, hey, more often than not, if your competency is actually genuinely really high, and you have thoroughly vetted it from a variety of sources, or a variety of healthy sources, people who know their shit, people who are very competent, people who know what they're doing, etc. If you've thoroughly vetted your competency and you still feel like shit, chances are it's just a message that's been drilled into you for a long ass time. For example, so Lady, I dealt with a lot of heavy academic achievement pressure. Like, I'll just be a little transparent about this. To put it into perspective, my father got an award from the Prime Minister of India back in like the 70s because he like was #1 valedictorian in his class. And then he, or something, I don't remember, he got like the Young Scientist Award. And then I think in the 80s, he got, I think he got a visa to immigrate to the United States because of, from the National Institutes of Health, just because of how, I guess, competent my father was. He got a letter of recommendation from Dr. Fauci back in the 80s, and like I saw it, and I'm like, what the shit? This is like so impressive for, you know, my father to have done that. But naturally, the pressure onto me for like the stereotypical Asian Indian families was like intensely high. So even if I got really, really high scores, like I remember I got like a 98% on like an engineering exam when I was going to school for mechanical engineering, I was more upset about the fact that I didn't get 100%. I was like, I didn't get perfect, so therefore I'm nothing. But here's the thing. Here's what I would say for those who have low self-worth, and let's say, and again, to be clear, that they are very competent at what they do. What I would say is one thing to try is imagine if somebody else had your skill level. How would you treat them? And I'm willing to bet you would be very kind to them. That's my guess. Try that out. Because I know for me, I was like, well, if someone that I love and I care about, if they got the scores that I did, I'd be over the fucking moon. I'd be so proud of them. I'd be like, they have probably worked really hard for it. They deserve a lot of praise. And then I thought about my own childhood. I'm like, yeah, I never got it. No wonder. I was constantly fed the message I wasn't good enough. No matter how competent I got, no matter how big this became, my sense of confidence was always shit. So then my self-esteem as a result also went to shit too. So if you do have high competence, then it's time to basically give yourself the stereotypical advice of love yourself and be kind to yourself in the way that you would be towards somebody who has, say, the same set of skills as you do. That's where I'd say that would apply. Because, there's some people who will devalue you for whatever personal reasons they have. They will try to they will try to disempower you. They will try to make you feel like shit because of whatever personal issues they have. They're threatened by your competence. So that, like, I've heard of stories like this where, like, an insecure guy will make his girlfriend or wife or whatever, who's seriously successful, he'll start making snide comments about her and trying to like belittle her and basically erode her self-confidence and self-worth because he's feeling so shit about, oh, he's not competent as she is. And be like, oh my gosh, she's gonna leave me. I need to make sure she doesn't leave me or something. And what if she finds somebody else? And whatever insecure thought that they have. And then they just like let loose certain like very snide remarks. And then just like slowly trying to erode that self-worth. And then unfortunately what can happen with the women, what you may notice with these women is eventually they dump the guy, they leave the guy eventually, and they get surrounded by like a lot of supportive friends who are like, no girl, you're great. See, here's what you do. You treat, and like women on average compared to men are a lot healthier in relationships. So they can find somebody else and someone treats them really well. And the woman like doesn't really realize is that, oh, the issue wasn't me. The issue was this guy was like super fucking insecure. And so then they re-expand their confidence. They have a great relationship with whoever the new partner is, who's actually a lot healthier for them in the first place. So there's that. So I hope that kind of wraps that up there. I know there's a lot of people in chat like now messaging things. Like I see you, Ahiru. I'll get to your question as soon as I can. Just trying to wrap up this self-worth, self-esteem stuff. So Tom Bello, I have low self-worth. I have bipolar disorder and terrible memory. I avoid socializing because I don't want people to discover I'm mentally weak. First question I'd ask is, so what? You're mentally weak. What does that mean? What does it mean to be mentally weak? Bipolar. Terrible memory? I actually don't have the best short-term memory. I forget lots of things. What does it mean? So I guess the question is, what does it mean to be mentally weak? If you could specify what that is, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. And so if you're still here and while you're typing that up, I'm going to segue into what Disillusion was saying, just as kind of as a flippant remark. I don't know, man. Sometimes I really feel like I'll hate the guy sitting next to me and he'll be my mirror. And the first question I'm going to ask is, why? Why do you hate who do you see? What is the genuine reason you do? And that's where I would start. Because there's things I dislike about myself. Like, I don't like the fact I forget shit. It's irritating. Or I don't like how I will feel about certain things certain ways. Or I don't like some of the thoughts that will come up in my head. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? This is so toxic. I don't like it. And like, I want to get rid of it. But what I will try to do is try to understand where it's coming from, why it's there, and what changes I want to make about it, assuming I want to make changes at all. So something for you to think about. Opinion can also creep into self-efficacy because the standard can always slide around depending on your perspective, like the Dunning-Kruger effect. The more you progress, the more you become aware of the mistakes. Yeah, that's true. Like when I was playing Neo 3 and working with Ninja Style, I was like, oh, I think I understand a lot about Ninja Style. And then when I did my Ninja Style only playthrough, I remember Amber, Darkness, Light pointed out like, bro, you're not actually that comfortable with Mist. And it kind of like hit me and I was like, fuck. I was like, shit. Damn, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And like it kind of stunk. It's like, how could I fucking have missed this shit? It's so obvious. Then I was like, all right, fine. I accept it. I don't know. I'm not that great at Ninja Style. I'm going to admit it now because it's fucking true. And I don't like the discomfort that I have over knowing that I actually suck more than I think. So how can I be better and feel better about myself is, I don't know, get good with Ninja Style and practice learning Mist. And learn and get excited about learning how to work with Mist with Ninja Style. And what happened? I started getting a lot better with it, and I felt a lot better with it too. And then I'm like, all right, lesson learned. There's some information. Thank goodness I took that information into consideration to help upgrade me. And that's what Amber was trying to do, was trying to help me get better. So I was like, thank God. Because I would have been so fucking blind to it. Imagine if I had made guides about Ninja Style without even understanding Ninja Style, this core mechanic Mist. That would have been bad. It's like even, I think it was just yesterday, I saw Pincognito. He did Heaven's Clash with the hatchets and then followed up with Wild Surge. And when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? You can do that shit? Is that tech? How'd you discover it, not me? And he's like, yeah, man, I've been doing this forever. And I'm like, what? And then I looked at the tooltip and I'm like, it fucking says it right there. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to read clearly. So I discovered a weakness of mine, which is, bruh, I didn't read things properly. So then I'm like, all right, I need to read more. I felt terrible about my skills, but I learned, hey, here's something I can do about it to improve my skills. Let me start doing that, and then I'll feel better. But one big thing with that is, lady, is that the person determining the standards for it is not necessarily other people. It is not an external thing. I will, of course, listen and consider external feedback. I'm not going to take it as gospel. I will consider it, but I'm the one determining what I want those standards to be. Like when I play Neo 3 now, I'm thinking about how can I improve upon my gameplay, even if no one is giving me feedback. Like people will usually say, whoa, that looked cool, or something. But that doesn't really tell me much as me trying to figure out like, what are some ways I can improve this? What are some ways I can have more fun? What is something that's a little lacking so I can make it really cool? What are some mistakes they're not necessarily mistakes, but what are some areas of improvement? And I'm like, oh, there's actually a lot. Oh, there's things I don't know. Okay, great. This means now that I'm aware of it, if I apply myself in this area, I can learn and get better and overcome and do cooler shit next time. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. So now I'm just kind of going in order, just trying to catch up with chat. When I was younger, like teens. Oh, so Wizard, I'm usually never dejected when fighting difficult bosses. It's always a puzzle I'm engaged with. I might be angry I'm messing up, but I don't feel like I'm bad. Right, you have a much, much healthier way of going about it, which is great. You'll get angry. You'll feel frustrated at yourself. Like, hey, I can do better. I should be better. So let me do these. Let me solve this puzzle, so to speak, so I can actually be better and overcome this challenge. Great. That's overall very healthy. I get pissed off sometimes too when I'm playing Neo and I'm like, God damn it, I made such a rookie mistake. Or, oh shit, I'm running out of key with my deflects. Oh, what's the mistake that I'm making? Oh, I'm deflecting too early. Therefore, I'm blocking. I need to recalibrate my deflects a little bit more. But I'm always looking towards how can I improve on my sense of competence, because I know the more and more I get competent by my own metrics, by my own sense of what I determine will be worthy, I know I'll feel better and I'll do better. All right, so lady, you had said when I was younger, like teens, early 20s, I would really beat myself up for not dating, being in a relationship, but I've gotten a lot better at forgiving myself. I've had a lot on my plate between difficult school, moving, for work, depression, recovery. It wouldn't be fair to expect me to be out there trying to date at the same time. Right. I would say one thing that everybody can do is try to be understanding towards themselves. That's not to be confused with agreeing with everything that we do, but just be understanding towards yourself and see how, if someone else dealt with your own life circumstances, how you treat them. Give that compassion. And likewise, if someone is doing something that seems a little strange, be compassionate and try to understand them. And you don't have to agree with them, but it can't hurt to be compassionate and understanding towards somebody. There's many people I understand. I don't agree with what they do, but I can still be understanding about it. Like, I have one of my clients, she's an anti-vaxxer. She's an anti-vaxxer, and politically she's very right-wing. She likes Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump, and I'm very much opposite about that. But her and I work together pretty well because I'm very understanding about our perspectives. And so, like, I'll just share, hey, this is what's helped me in my own life, and I'm ultimately just trying to help her with her own life too. But we have a pretty good working relationship as me as her coach and her being one of my clients. Differences are fine, but I don't agree with her, but it's fine. She doesn't agree with me, it's okay. But we're able to work through things as per the professional relationship. Okay, I'm trying to catch up because I know Ahiru is here and Swolpool is here, and questions. I want to get to some of the meatier questions people have talked about. Pragmatically, how much can a person still be functional without any links to the world? Have you seen those kind of outcomes to be even a viable choice? Can you elaborate? What do you mean by no links to the world? Like, you're just all by yourself, socially isolated, period? Like, no humanity, nothing? What do you mean by that? So just let me know. Your therapist always said this when I was feeling bad of my performance at work. Yeah. Like, with the whole work thing, I'm sure people have had experiences where their bosses are like, or like, you're not working hard enough. You're a shit employee. And you're like, bruh, I'm literally busting my ass off and you're paying me like next to nothing. They're like effectively trying to devalue the work that you do so they can just get away with getting paid more or paying less. I'm sure you've had that. And so that can, of course, if we deal with that all the time, it can, it can really erode a person and they get them very jaded from work. So there's that. Okay. At the end of the day, I don't think you can make it in this world if you're not your own biggest fan. Make it in this world in what sense? Just curious. Question, have you had women clients whose female friends are bringing them down? I hear a lot how single women want their female friends to be just as miserable as they are. They say stuff like just break up. Let's see. The clients that I've worked with, truth be told, I don't know, because one of the first things I tell them is to disregard people who don't know what the fuck they're doing. My clients are trying to reconcile with their partners. That's not necessarily 100% a guarantee, but it's not through lack of effort or lack of trying. In fact, usually the clients, if they are, it's usually like I'll just try to put it simply. I try to help my clients create transformational change in themselves and their environments. So they change so much and are able to create such great relationships that like their partners who are leaving them or have already left them or found other relationships, they're like, my ex is actually amazing now. Like legit, and they are irreplaceable to me. Like they are the one for me. Whatever happened in the past, not only have we resolved, but it's immaterial to me because our present and our future is going to be that fucking amazing. That, like, my clients, I try to help them become so irreplaceable, it literally doesn't matter what happens in their lives. Their partners will choose them. Or their former partners will choose them. It doesn't matter if it's divorce, it doesn't matter if it's affairs, it doesn't matter like legit anything. And even in the fringe cases where it doesn't happen, like I empower my clients to have such great self-esteem in their relationships that their next relationship is a guaranteed, like it's amazing. And they know how to navigate relationships, not to get walked over, and how to be appropriate, how to be healthy, how to be happy, like do all that shit. So that's what I help them out with. So part of that involves with these clients helping them to tune out people who aren't actually the best advocates for them. So in the case of like, oh, their female friends are bringing them down or just saying break up, I'm like, well, first of all, do these people know how to help you accomplish your goals? Like you want to say get back with your partner. Sure, let's investigate this other person who's been in relationships. Have they accomplished what you're trying to accomplish? If so, then go ahead, listen. But otherwise, if they're just saying stuff, they're probably just trying to protect you. Or maybe they have some other reason. Who knows? But ignore them. Ignore their advice. Like, we can understand it. But, like, if someone isn't qualified to give advice, then don't listen to them. Is what I will try to say. So that's like one of the first things I will try to mention. Okay. Big ego know-it-all poofer. Dude, I don't know. I like how you say that when I put a disclaimer. Like, dude, I'm basically saying, I don't know shit. I'm not as qualified as a therapist. I'm a coach, and bro, anybody can be a coach. So, like, be careful. Take my advice with a grain of salt, and make sure you take whatever I say and screen it for your own safety. That is a bigger concern. Okay, trying to catch up. I remember reading in human biology about how the body filters certain compounds from making it out of the bloodstream into the brain. I think there needs to be a mental equivalent of that where you can say, yeah, I'm bad at X or Y activity, but that's irrelevant to my worth as a person. Also, my feedback to you is always the same. Use more cicada shell. Yeah, fair. So I'll just tell you very upfront what I base my sense of worth on. It's not based on my ability. It's not based on certain, I'll just put it this way. It's irrelevant to my skills in Neo. I don't really give a shit. But what I place my sense of worth in is something that I can always have at my disposal and always at my control at all times. It doesn't matter if I'm sick. It doesn't matter if I'm healthy. Literally, it doesn't matter where I'm at in life. For me, it's as simple as this. Am I practicing my values? And for me, what's most important to me is, am I being a good human being? Am I being a kind human being? Am I being caring? Am I helping other people lift them up? Am I like being loving, understanding? Am I doing that to the best of my ability? Am I putting in effort as best as I can? As long as I'm doing that, I will feel good about myself, and I will therefore have high self-esteem. That's very much in my control. If I happen to hurt somebody, for example, if I'm mean to somebody, I'm going to be very concerned. I'm like, oh shit, my ability to practice my values is the level of it ain't actually that great. I feel a little worse about myself. I need to get better at doing that. So then I will do that. I will practice. I will learn how to upgrade my practice of my values even further and go from there. That is what is my self-esteem is based off of. It's not based on my job title. It's not based on relationship status. It's not based on whether I'm sick or I'm healthy. Those are things I can practice in different forms at all times. That is my identity. That's what matters to me the most. So if I like that, that's huge to me. It's not about necessarily my work output per se. It's about my own values, what matters to me. So I can suck all the time at Neo and it will do relatively nothing to my worth. What I will get frustrated by is more how I'm not able to learn certain things, or maybe I'm doing something like it's unrelated to Neo. It might be the way I interacted with somebody. It might be the way I interacted with a game where I'm just trying to have fun. It might be separate. So that's always in my control. So that's what I practice. There's nothing worse than kind of knowing something but have too much confidence. Yeah, I know what you mean. Trying to help people is a good thing. We can try our best, but we can always just acknowledge, hey, I may not be the expert at something. Here's what I know about it. I have half-baked knowledge. Maybe this could help. But if we're acting like we're the authority, even though we have half-baked knowledge, then we're basically lying. I think people can be civil even though they differ in their opinions. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The level of closeness between two people will depend on how much they align. Like, I have a working professional relationship with a client who is diametrically opposed to me politically. But, like, that's kind of, like, I'm not necessarily going to be her friend. That's to be expected, though. I'm not going to be like her friend. I mean, professional ethics aside. So, lady, you said, disillusion, a lone ranger away from the outcomes of emotional and biological chains. Here's what I'll say. People are social creatures. If you're trying to make it all by yourself, well, good fucking luck. Being attached to people is fine. Unhealthy attachments are a problem. I have attachments to people. Like, come on, I'm attached to Cass. But am I, like, obsessed in a way that's super unhealthy that anyone who can look on the outside and be like, bro, that seems kind of weird? No, of course not. I think in, like, Buddhist circles or something, there's attachment, and usually people say let go of attachments, but I think a misinterpretation of that can kind of come down to, like, oh, you just, like, don't care. I'm like, no, bro, that's... Being attached to something usually means there's some, in my perspective, it usually means there's something selfish going on. One thing I help my clients with is detach from outcomes in general. Where they're like, oh, I gotta make, like, for example, it's like, no, I gotta make sure this happens this exact way. It has to be this way. It has to be this way. It can only be this way. And I think from the outside looking in, people be like, bro, that sounds so fucking controlling. No, my partner can't leave me no matter what. I cannot have that outcome at all. It's not allowed. No, we have to be this way. Oh no, there's something that's a threat to it, or I think it's a threat to it. Oh my gosh, gotta stamp it out now. They have an unhealthy attachment to that. And ironically, by focusing on that and behaving in that regard, but it's like, bro, you're doing a lot of unhealthy shit, which is very self-sabotaging. You could just instead create a relationship where your partner's super fucking happy with you. And then you'll get your outcome anyway. Wow. Treat your partner really, really well. Better than anybody else can. Where you understand them the most and you make them the happiest. I'm pretty sure they'll stick around. And then you can start saying, hey, I don't have to focus so much on what happens. I can stay present. I don't have to worry about the future. Whatever happens in the future happens, because what I do in the present, my actions and my behaviors are so goddamn good, I ain't gotta worry about shit anymore. But yeah, I don't think being a Lone Ranger is practical in the long term. So, lady, you're mentioning, you asked me to elaborate on this, but basically we have responsibilities to ourselves, right? Like keeping ourselves fed, keeping our hygiene up, things like that. I think it's just the same as that. You got to be somebody who believes in and generates positive mental energy. You can't expect anyone to try to fill a self-hatred pit more than anyone you could expect anyone to feed you or bathe you. I think you said it really well. Yes. Wizard, I went to jail for murder, but Dr. Poofer helped me get my wife back. Best coach 5 out of 5. True story. In my previous job, we had a client who is now in prison for sexually assaulting his stepdaughter, and he did reconcile with his wife. So there's that. It's like one freak case. You totally deserve prison. I'm like, yeah, you sexually assaulted your stepdaughter. You're going to prison, bro. You're going to prison. And I'll say that for me. I remember when I was getting divorced by Cass, I felt like on some level, I felt like I didn't deserve it. Because, I thought I'm being a good husband and whatever, and I'm innocent, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, actually, I was really shit. Once I understood I was actually really shit, and I treated her very, very poorly, I was like, I totally deserve to get divorced. I'm like, yeah, I don't bat an eye anymore. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you did divorce me. I totally deserved it. Who can even argue at that point? So interesting with that. Okay. Some people just want to feel good about themselves. Oh, look at me, I'm helping my friend without asking reward. But all they did is give a shit advice they didn't even think through. Yeah. So in other words, if you want to feel good about yourself, it works in two parts. Get good at what you're actually doing, and then evaluate on your own efforts, whether you actually believe it is good. And if you find yourself stressed about it, that you're not actually doing good, try to transpose whether your skills would be good if you saw someone else do them, perhaps do them to you. That could help you evaluate it too. Okay. Wow. To think that's an hour and a half already has elapsed, and I've only really touched on one question from Ninu. And then we segued into like a whole bunch of different shit. So I think I saw, let's see. I don't think Good Cat's here right now. I don't think Crimson Panda's here. I haven't seen that. Fiend Busa still isn't here. Swolepool, you here? I think you're here. I saw you in chat. I don't know if you're here. I know Ahiru is here. We don't even need the questions. Can just wing it. I know. I can talk about this all day. I mean, this is what I do my job. Okay, Swolepool, you're here. So I'm going based off on order. Skip me, you sure? Okay, I will skip you. So Ahiru, you are here. Right? Still here, I think. So question is a really big issue on self-esteem, pretty much anything I want to be good at. In arts and in games mostly, amongst many other things. I have a tendency to compare myself to people I look up to in their departments, and I know I will never compare. I cannot help but do so, and it drives me up a wall to extreme degrees sometimes. As in to the point of unhealthy isolation. On top of that, employment... employment has been nearly impossible for me for various reasons. Lady Poofer covering Fiend Busa's question. Just delim and OT your stress, homie. It's a good question. I could probably answer that briefly, but I'll only answer that if he's here. I'll prioritize those that are in attendance. So, okay. Employment being impossible for me for various reasons has my brain going, but I'll focus on this part first. So, let's expand this loop a little bit too. All right. Let me see if I can shrink this. the big operative word here in all of this is self, right? Self-esteem is our own evaluation over anything else. So sure, like sure, I can understand when you see somebody who's really fucking good at what they're doing, and we look at our skills, we're like, bruh, we suck. How can I feel good about myself when the output of my work is not nearly as good as another person's? But one thing I think we're focusing on in that moment, and I'm going to create a little box for this, is there's a distinction between outcomes and processes. You may have heard this. I've used this at my previous work before. All right, so process is more of a kind of like a term. Outcomes, we can just say like events, right? So what I'm going to say at first may not make sense, but self-esteem, I would never base it off on outcomes. Outcomes meaning things that happen in our lives, things that could happen in the past, things that could happen in the future, just different scenarios occurring, different events. Self-esteem, I do not base on outcomes. I instead base it off on, thank you, Wizard. Okay. Self-esteem, I would never base off on outcomes. So the outcome of like, oh, hey, right now, for you, Ahiru, let's say you see an artist or video games. You see someone that's better. They're at a different level, so to speak, right, than you. And of course it can feel like shit. But let me ask you, if you were to become that level, would you feel good about yourself? I'm anticipating a certain answer. Let's say you're at the same level as somebody else. Would you feel elated? Would you feel proud of yourself? And if so, for how long? I remember joining drawing as a hobby group. I had existential crisis for scrolling about 10 minutes. Felt like the worst piece of doo-doo. Now, my guess for you, Ahiru, would be that, yeah, you'd feel better. Like, oh shit, I'm pretty good. But I also imagine it'd be very fleeting. Because the moment you see someone else do something better, all of a sudden you're threatened again. To a degree, maybe. Because at least with art, if I'm good enough, I can actually get into the industry instead of living off of commissions here and there. So yeah, I mean, the art world can be cutthroat in that regard. But it's interesting how you said to a degree, maybe. Like, I'll tell you guys this. When I got Twitch Partner, that was an outcome I was aiming for. All right? But you know what happened when I got it? I felt like shit. I felt pretty bad. I felt like, dude, what was the fucking point of me grinding away for months? And that's the bigger thing that I want to focus on. I didn't feel good about myself. In fact, my output for Twitch and whatnot dropped. Because for me, I wasn't feeling good about the journey to get to that place. I would say self-esteem. Self-esteem is based on what you do and what you think about yourself. It's based on your processes, so to speak. So yes, other artists will seem more appealing, and obviously you want to get to that level. You want to get to that destination. But if the journey to get there fucking sucks, and you're constantly beating yourself up, dude, you're gonna lose. Your system can't take it. It's too stressful. So but the thing is, how do these artists who seem to enjoy it, or hopefully they enjoy it, if they don't, then it sucks. But how do you get to the good level in the first place? Well, make sure whatever things that you are doing, are enjoyable and relate to you getting there. In other words, make sure your journey to the destination is enjoyable, and make sure your journey actually can get you to the destination. I'm sure there'll be somebody better, but you know what's even easier than that? And I'm gonna toot my own horn here with Neo 3 things, okay? My advice, and this is what I do for Neo 3, I don't actually look that often at other people's gameplay. I'll look at it briefly. Like, I've looked at White Goat, I've looked at Black Boss, I'll look at people who do Stone of Penance +5, I'll look at other players to see what they're doing. But it doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest. Like, I watch Black Boss, I think now he's just Boss, and he, like, can deflect everything. And I'm like, damn, that's really cool. But I'm like, but I'm not really going for that. That's not what I desire, really. Instead, I'm so focused on me creating my own journey towards my own destination that I personally find enjoyable for myself, and getting so good at it and enjoying it so much that I don't have to worry about any outcome or what level or what I create in the future. Because I already know that by my virtue of me getting so goddamn good at what I do and enjoying it so damn much, that whatever will occur in the future will be great. In other words, I'm not using other people to determine my sense of worth. They're more like a little data point where I'm like, I can consider this. It's something I can consider, but it's not a determinant. For me, my Neo 3, what I work on for Neo 3 is I'm creating my own vision. And my own vision, I want it to be so goddamn awesome and so good. And I do get support from other people, of course, who are like, whoa, and I get some external validation where usually people in chat will be like, bro, that looks so fucking cool. And I'll look at that and be like, okay, I think I'm on the right track at least. But then I'll also try to understand what they liked about it. And then I'll decide, you know what? I don't think I've seen anything like this that what I'm trying to create, I haven't seen yet. Very rarely. I think I've seen like one YouTube channel that touches on that, and it's like Sofa KDZ or something. And like that channel does some of the stuff I like. But for the most part, I don't see the shit that I do, that I'm trying to do. Like, it's really hard for me to come by. So I'm determining what I want to create. I'm trying to create something super fucking cool so that when I hypothetically release a 1,000 hours video of Neo 3, people will have the same reaction or a similar reaction as they did when they watched my 2,000 hours of Neo 2 video, where they're like, bro, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't even know it could be played like that, but that was so cool. Right, Wizard. I've gained a mastery in my own style, my own uniqueness, my own unique identity, and I'm pushing that so high. My own, the Poofer Llama style of Neo gameplay to be so unique that it's like there's no need to look at anything else. So my general, and that's helped me a lot. I mean, that's why I got like invited to Team Ninja at a couple of things. But I would say for your own work, for your own artwork, rather than focusing on how other people determine it, and that being the only thing, like obviously it's important to consider feedback, but rather than that entirely determining your own sense of worth, look to see how you can create something that you're so goddamn proud of, that you believe in so much because it's just so fucking good to you, and you know it is, and you believe in it, that you don't even have to look elsewhere anymore. What's my ethnicity? Why does it matter? Why is that your first question, bro? That's your first question on my channel. I don't care why. My stink eye is so fucking high. Just asking, no. I'm gonna call you out on that type of question. Anyway. But anyway, back to the main point. Good question, Poofer. What's your ethnicity? Oni Ryu, you're emotionally banned. The way you play, you definitely have some dragon heritage, maybe. Is he an airport guy? Maybe. Okay, anyway, so it's a bit of a text wall. Okay, Ahiru. Oni Ryu, you had to come up with the worst answer. My ethnicity is not Gaki. Fuck right off. So yeah, that's what I would say. So Ahiru, what I would say in regards to when we have the tendency to compare ourselves, it's not I would not say have that be the end all be all. It can be a helpful like data point to help you understand, hey, maybe these are some skills that I can work on so that my art can be better in a certain way or more unique or something special. Because in my opinion, when it comes to arts in general, video games included, it's ultimately a matter of perspective. Like art, what people like in art and video games really depends. Some people, for example, like Ongbal's gameplay, deflect only type things, and it's impressive. Some people like my gameplay, which isn't that. That's fine. There's room for everybody. I'm never going to play like Ongbal, but Ongbal probably will never play like me. That doesn't mean either way is bad. It just means it's different. That's okay. Now, as for the employment stuff, since I don't have the most specifics, I can't really talk about that as much. Because I just don't really know what to work with. Like, I've been rejected for a job before, but it had nothing to do with me personally. It's just because, well, we went with somebody in-house because they're a safer bet compared to someone we don't know. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Or I've had... Oops. Ah, shit. I've had... Alright. I've been rejected by an employer because I said no to them before. And I'm like, really? I said no because I was like, I wasn't going to get work from you for a few months and I needed to work immediately at the time. And now my circumstances have changed. And you're saying, I'm like, what am I missing? And like, well, we don't think we can ever work out because you said no before. I'm like, what the shit? This is bizarre. I'm like, okay, I guess. I'm like, I'm even more qualified than I was before. Like, I'm an even more killer candidate. But if your culture at your work is I can't even say no, I can't decline a job offer before, then I'm not working for this place. And truth is, you guys are literally like, I was already a good applicant before. And now I'm even better. Like, I have even more shit. Like, I can handle more shit. And you're denying me? I'm like, this is ultimately your loss. Good fucking luck. Like, alright, shit happens. I've had a previous job where it was a job and I left that job. And then they wanted me back like a year later. And they're like, yeah, we were a bit shit to you. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want the job. I'm like, it doesn't matter how much you pay me. You could pay me 10 times as much money, but unless certain changes are made, I'm never coming back. Once that change is made, I'll consider it. And then like I got a call from the boss like on Thanksgiving or whatever, and then they like try to apologize. He's like, I'm not trying to hire you back or anything. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, bye. Blocked. I'm never dealing with that shit again. So, okay, Ahiru, you're saying, I know I won't get to their heights, so when I'm not in a terrible state of mind, instead I'm taking a risk right now to use my work to build a world and aim for a creative position. Yeah. For me, when it comes to my Neo gameplay, I don't have it defined by other people as much. It's very tempting for that to happen because, you know, there's so many great players out there. There's so many people trying to make their mark in their own way, and it can feel tempting to be like, oh, I'm not as good as them, I don't do it like them. But here's the thing, no one's gonna do it like you will do it either. You have your own unique talents, your own unique way of seeing things that only you will ever have. Don't try to like create art the same or play games the same way. Do it your own unique way. Whatever that is, take time to figure that out, understand that, to really showcase your strengths, be proud of what you create. Make it something you feel like, damn, I did something so amazing and I know it. Be proud of it. That's what I would say. Focus on your journey, your own unique journey, more than anything else, rather than evaluating yourself based on other people or what their levels are at or what other people approve. Do it internally on your own. Make whatever you do so goddamn good. I'm sorry, I know this wasn't as big as the others. I'm better recently, but the feelings resurface pretty intensely when they do. Yeah, and I'm guessing you've been like shamed a lot for your abilities. Art world can be how people evaluate art isn't necessarily fair. People can put in a ton of effort into their artwork and then someone's like, sorry, it was shit, and then they just cut you loose. That happens. It's pretty unfair. People can be very dismissive about artwork. But someone being dismissive about your own efforts, and if you're saying, hey, I tried my hardest and I did my best, and if you think that your efforts, if someone else were to put that in, would be impressive or be worthy or great, oftentimes it can be a reflection about them more than about you. It's easy for people to pick apart and critique something without really understanding all the effort that goes underneath it. It's really easy for them to do that. But it's at that point, the way I see it is it's not you. It's not a problem with you. That's, again, this is from the limited information I have with you, so I wouldn't know. If the art world wasn't hard before adding AI to the equation now, you know, the interesting thing with that is, if the moment I know it's AI, it instantly cheapens it for me. A human being and an AI could create the exact same thing. But if I'm aware a human being created it, I'm actually like, I appreciate the human effort put into it more. Like, it's mesmerizing at that point. I'm like, whoa, they spent all this time, they put life energy into creating this. There's a whole story to this. The art piece in of itself is awesome. But to me, the journey to create that art is far more impressive. Having a prompt to create AI, I'm like, bruh. Or to create art, I'm like, are you fucking serious? You know, and I just hope that artists can, and I understand some artists can be like told that their stuff is AI. So I'd love to see like artists create things. I'm actually more interested in watching somebody create art live. Like, that's the thing. If someone hand creates something, I'm like, a human being made this. They put their heart and soul into this. How do you value Gaki created art? Okay, you know, I'm pretty sure the Gakis are behind AI, okay? That's all I gotta say about that. Okay. So yeah, Ahiru, did I address your statement? Because I want to make sure I know there were some things. I remember I saw somebody mention something in chat about relationship stuff that I wanted to tack on or address real quick. Let me know if I did, or if you still have any follow-up statements. Where was it? I think Louis Long had said something. Serious question. How do we spot crazy? Usually the crazy signs only come up after years of being together. Again, that's a concern over something. It's a future thing, right? But for me, if I'm trying to determine crazy, I'm looking to see how someone addresses things. I can't determine the future. I try to see how people address things in the present. Concerns I have in the present. If I can be honest about certain concerns in the present. Because, yeah, I don't know what the future will hold. But, you know, that's the process of building trust with somebody. So, and also if someone is doing something what I think is crazy, I'll try to understand why is it coming up and and if there's something that can be done to make things easier and better over time. That's really important too. Okay. Okay, you're satisfied? Okay. All right. Whatever, Oniryu. Hey, what's up, Amber? Okay. Yeah, if I know someone who's lied to me and created AI art, I instantly cut them out. I'm like, you not only did you create AI art, but you were dishonest about it. That already tells me everything I need to know about this channel. I'm out. I'm not even going to engage. Like, I don't give a flying fuck. I'm like, bye. Okay. So let's see. Soulpool wanted me to skip him. I already answered Nina's question. Don't think Codex is here. Scampus. Don't know if whoever submitted as Scampus was here. I don't think Zeta is here. I unfortunately have to answer the question from Gaki, because I know that's April. I swear my Gakis aren't AI. That's the distressing part. I know you put time and energy into that wizard. I swear it's not me. Okay, well, if Gaki isn't here, it's time for me to go to April then. Alright, so April. Question is, if you don't mind sharing, what conflict resolution strategies in your relationship have been the most effective? Hey, Pepper, good to see you. Oh, that's actually pretty simple. So, let's get some fancy little shapes up in here once again. So, before I get onto this topic, I think AI can be useful, but I think the people who are governing how AI can be used suck. I think AI can be a great assistive tool, just like machines can be very valuable and assistant and can assist people. But a lot of the ways that I'm exposed to it, I'm like, bro, this is so shitty. Like, I never like AI summaries on like every YouTube video. I'm like, I ignore them entirely. Or AI trying to write my emails for me. I'm like, this is so bad. There are like very like having AI like being assistive to a human being, I think is great. But when I see something that could be generated genuinely with from like, and there's value in it created by a human being, and then I see like someone trying to replace that with AI, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, all right, I guess. I've tried like ChatGPT. like just to see, hey, give me relationship advice. How do I reconcile? And I'm like, this is so like generic and bad. And it's so prone to error. And there's so many problems. Right, Wizard, that's the thing. It's the human component behind it. I think using AI to like help start brainstorming is fine. I think of it like training wheels at best. But like, bro, spending billions of dollars on training wheels is like, or I could just, or sure, as a search engine, sure. But like, here's what comes in my head. I could ask AI how to like do some specific task, or I could just ask somebody who already knows how to do it for real. It's just easier for me to ask that person and get like real live feedback from someone who understands, from a human being who will understand a lot more complexities than any AI can generate. I'm like, I'm not gonna subscribe to something when I can just call someone. Call someone qualified. Anyway, back to what April was asking. If you don't mind, what conflict resolutions strategies in your relationship have been most effective? This is a good question, and it's actually pretty general. Are you afraid you're going to be out of a job due to people using AI as therapists? No. Have you seen how hilariously bad like certain chatbots are trying to assist people? They're like so hilariously bad. It's just like so bad. I mean, if they put therapists out of a job, great, but I'm not like remotely threatened. Anyway, so okay. For me, for any conflict, no matter what it is, it just boils down to one. Do I actually understand the nature of the conflict? So what's the problem? This is going to sound like so fucking obvious. What's the actual problem? If I don't know what the problem is, then I need to prioritize understanding what it actually is. Understanding is huge. That's like really all it kind of boils down to. My AI therapist told me to try shock therapy by putting a fork in my socket. Is this right? I mean, that's one way to try shock therapy. I don't advise it. So for me, though, no matter what the conflict is, I need to make sure that whoever I'm speaking with and I at least agree to the nature of the problem. Oftentimes, it's not clear. So what I have to prioritize first and foremost is understanding the other person's perspective. Like, all the time. All the time. That is essential. I already know my perspective. All right, I already know my perspective. Oops. All right, obviously I do. I know my perspective. But I don't necessarily know what there is. Can you not? You get out. I suck with this. So I obviously understand my perspective and I understand their perspective. Wait, does that work? Oh, I guess that's kind of neat. Can you just go? Thank you. Okay, I already understand mine, but I don't necessarily understand theirs. I need to do that no matter what, so I can really understand what the real nature of the problem is. From there, then at that point, that's when I can start to discover some solutions. Okay? Like, I gotta be able to do that. And I'll put up, like, my own hypothesis of what the solution might be. I'll just ask, like, all right, what if we try, like, for example, if there's an issue we're having, And it's like, okay, here's what I think. Here's my perspective on it. Okay, do I understand your perspective on it? Okay, great. So at least we have a shared understanding. We're on the same page. Okay, so I think I understand what the problem is. Okay, here's an idea. Here's a solution. Here's a suggestion. And then obviously, if we both agree to the solution, great, we've solved the conflict. But if there is some sort of disagreement, whether it's subtle or whether it's a much more explicit sort of disagreement with it, then I realized, oh shit, actually I have no fucking clue. I need more understanding of their perspective. Can I get better with this already? Right? I need to understand their perspective more, as maybe my perspective has changed in the meantime. But if there isn't an agreement on what the solution is, it just means I don't fully understand the full scope of the problem yet. So for me, and I could probably clean up this diagram a little better, my priority is to understand the other person first. That's my ultimate conflict resolution strategy, is to understand where they are coming from first. Then I will share my perspective after I make sure I understand and that they feel like I understand where they're coming from. No matter what it is, no matter if it's a right or wrong thing, just no matter what. Because otherwise, if I don't have full information about what's going on, then any solutions I put forth are going to fall flat. That's really it. Now, if you guys want me to give specifics, feel free to ask. Like Wizard, you're saying, hey, what if there's a right or wrong conflict between two people? Gotta do some quick cleaning, be right back. All right. So Wizard, give me a concrete example. Because obviously, and just to be clear, there's not always going to be 100% agreement on everything. But I think people would be surprised by how much more things they would agree upon or work with together on something than they might realize. Even things that supposedly seem like irreconcilable differences. So if there's a decision to be made and they're opposite sides, you just need more understanding of both sides to list all the pros and cons. Yes. Yeah. The thing is, though, I'm operating under one assumption in that people can change their minds over time. So at first it might seem like, oh, we have an irreconcilable differences. Let's take kids, for example. I want kids, the other person doesn't want kids. Like on the surface, that's like, well, that's a serious mismatch, right? But the question I would try to understand is, well, why? Why does the one person want kids? Why does the other person not want kids? Is it really just a surface level concern? Or is there perhaps something deeper that could be satisfied? And without really from discovering really the deeper roots as to what's someone's core motivations, we can really start to agree on what the real problems are and find out more appropriate solutions. So I remember with one of the past clients at my previous job, the wife wanted kids, the husband did not. And he's like, oh shit, we already got 3 kids. I don't want more, more work, more pressure. But through them having lots of deep discussions and really understanding what each was looking for, he came to realize that what his wife really wanted was something to nurture. And she can nurture a whole lot of things. And so she realized, oh, what I really want is to nurture something. And yeah, I actually kind of agree with my husband that having kids, yes, it's one way I could nurture things, but yeah, it would put a lot of work on us at the same time. And then for her, what she ended up deciding is I think she wanted to nurture a business. Which was like, okay, I totally did not see that coming. She wanted to grow something. So I think she started growing a business, I think. It was either that or animals. I don't remember. But she got to build something. She got to create something from scratch. Um, so yeah, like that's so on the surface, it's like, oh gosh, mismatch with kids. Maybe they shouldn't be married. To like, oh, actually, like they solved the problem. Okay, no big deal. So that can happen. Question: how are you supposed to know if someone just wants to vent and be heard versus trying to help? Do you literally just ask? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll just ask. And yeah, I mean, I'll just ask. And I might say something like, hey, like, I just want to be in the clear here, and I got a question. And I'm not asking the question because, like, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to, like, devalue you or disrespect you. If anything, I'm just trying to give you exactly what I think you're looking for from me. And I just want to ask, like, you're expressing a lot of things to me, and it sounds pretty heated. But did you want some specific help from me, or do you just want me to hear you out, like empathize with you, and you just kind of like need to, let shit off your chest? I just want to make sure that and I'm asking because I don't want to give unsolicited advice accidentally. That's all. That's how I'd ask if I was concerned about like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. That's it. That's what I will do. I'm like, hey, I'm concerned. I'll give you unsolicited advice. I don't want to do that. I want to give you what you're looking for. Or do you want me to just listen to you, hear you out? Do you want me to just give you help right away? Because sometimes some people are like venting a frustration, but what they really need in that moment is like, hey, I just need like a fucking answer. And other people are like, nah, I don't actually need help. I just need to like let some steam off and just know that somebody else gets where I'm coming from, and I'll figure it out. Okay, so April, you're saying, okay, so that kind of fits what I think as well. But to hit a specific example, let's say two parties have a recurring problem. Like one hypothetically keeps using their phone or earbuds at a restaurant, the other lashes out. This gets resolved, but not the other behavior which they find rude. Any advice on when would be an appropriate time to broach the perceived rude behavior when it may not be appropriate to immediately address? Ooh, now we're getting to a more complex territory. So, April, what I see with that is many layers. One is, so in that case, what I would want to understand. So, okay, so April, for me to think about this, I usually focus on the individual basis. Yeah, I hear the cough is getting better. It's the best it's been for a while, but it's just like a little lingering cough, and I'm like, just get out, bro. It's so annoying. So April, in those situations, since with the clients that I work with, I focus on one person at a time. So in this case, who should I role play as? Should I be the person who is lashing out, or should I be the person who is on their phone and earbuds at a restaurant? Which one would you like me to be? So I'm gonna role play as a person lashing out, just to verify. Okay. So if I'm getting pissed off that my significant other or whatever is, so here, let's break down this person's point of view. All right. Can I get like a flow chart? Will a table work? I don't like the table. Come on. Oh, I can just okay. Actually, screw that. I don't like that. No, not my paragraph text. We'll just do boxes. Okay, so my perspective is, for example, I'm pissed off because I'm seeing disrespect, right? Someone is being disrespectful at the table towards me, right? That's my perspective, basically. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why are you eating and we're at a restaurant using their phone and earbuds and like, what the hell, yo? This is pretty disrespectful. Like, that would kind of be my perspective at it. I'm like, you keep doing this shit. It's not only disrespectful once, it happens many times. So what the actual fuck is going on, right? Eventually I just lose my shit because I'm like, bro, I've already told you, please don't do this. And then you keep doing it. That's what I imagine would be that perspective. Eventually you just kind of like get pissed off and then you lash out. And then every time you keep seeing this, it's like, okay, problem isn't being addressed. But if you're coming from that perspective, naturally one temptation for people that they can have is to be like, hey, I want to change the other person's behavior. Right. But let me ask you a question, April. Do you like it when someone tells you what to do? On average, if they're telling you, stop doing this, do this instead. And they give you orders. I imagine your answer would be, no, I don't really like people telling me how to behave. It feels it's kind of fucking irritating. It depends on average, but the answer you're looking for is no. Right. In this situation, would you like being told to do? Probably not. It depends. Like, obviously, in some situations, I guess I need to clarify that. Is it fun for someone to tell you what to do? Oh gosh, I can see this getting derailed so fast because I'm like, well, actually, insert sexual situation where it's nice to be ordered around. But yeah, not fun. Okay. So I think Wizard has already jumped the gun, which is great, which is we need to understand the other person's perspective. Because oftentimes what can happen is through us perceiving, we'll see behaviors being disrespectful. It keeps occurring. But then what starts to happen is we can sometimes go down some very unhealthy lines of thinking. We can start to think that something like, we can put like a character bias on them. We can say that they suck. Right. Or like, oh, they're a shitty person. They're just disrespectful and they're being an asshole. We can have a character bias put against them. And then we can be like, oh man, they really suck. And that's just who they are. And we can get negative and negative and negative all the time. And this can just lead us into this big spiral. This can lead to a big spiral. And we get super fucking bitter. And then we keep encountering the same behavior of that person over and over again, and it just kind of becomes triggering, and then we can just lash out more and more and more. But I would say if you go like this, it is never going to end well. Instead, what I would encourage you to do is let's not make any conclusions about their behavior at all. Let's instead just try to understand why in the same way that Wizard is talking about. Wizard went straight to reasons for that potential behavior, which is, hey, maybe that other person is protesting because he doesn't want to be at the restaurant. Maybe if he wants to do something else, then he'd be more attentive. In other words, the priority should be to really understand the other person's perspective first. In other words, why are they doing what they're doing? Not from a place of judgment, but just from a place of genuine curiosity. Why is that person using their phone or using earbuds at a restaurant? Why does this keep happening? What is going on? Do they not want to be there? Are they upset with me for some reason? What's going on? Now, that's what I would ask. And the timing for that is rather irrelevant, in all honesty. It could happen in the moment where, hey, I see this person using headphones or earbuds and they're on their phone in the restaurant once again. So I would ask just, hey, you know, I just have a question, and I'm just curious about something, and I'm not asking because I want to judge you or be mean to you or anything. I'm just trying to understand because I want both of us to have fun. I want you to have fun, and my impression is on some level it doesn't seem like you are. I'm just curious, what makes you use your earbuds and your phone at a restaurant? I would just ask that. Now, who knows what the response will be, but my goal, first and foremost, isn't to like defend myself or to get what I want. I'm not thinking about that shit. I'm not talking about how I feel disrespected or anything like that. I'm not even considering addressing my own perspective with them at this time. That is a far shot. I first need to make sure I get where they're coming from. And I will keep doing that until I can get to the place where I can empathize with them. That's not to say I might agree with their behavior. Obviously, I don't agree with the behavior in this instance if I'm taking the perspective of, hey, this is disrespectful, they've done this many fucking times, and it's a reoccurring issue. But I need to understand why it's happening in the first place. Once I feel like I can understand where they're coming from, and they feel like I can understand where they're coming from, then it's totally appropriate for me to say, hey, like, you know, can I just say something about where I'm coming from? You know, I feel like when I notice you're on your phone, when you're at your earbuds at this restaurant, and, you know, I'm really hoping to have a nice time with you, and I feel a little hurt because I feel like, you know, I feel like my time is invaluable. Or I feel like I'm just kind of here and I'm not able to enjoy, like, I feel like you're not enjoying time with me or something. You know, so it just kind of bothers me because I just feel like I'm here not really, I'm not enjoying myself here with you because I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall or something, or it's not like we're here in this together. That's what it feels like for me. And, you know, what would be really meaningful for me is if I felt like we could both enjoy the time together with one another in a really enjoyable way where we're both really present with each other. I don't know exactly how to do that, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for. It would mean so much to me, and I'd have so much more fun with you too. That's something that I would say. I feel like this should have been addressed the first time they did this. I mean, peeping, you're right. Hey, good cat, I'll get to your question as soon as I can. Right, so Wizard, you're positing so many different potential reasons, and I think that's fantastic. Get in that, and I would say for the person lashing out in this situation, just try to understand with that person. Just focus on understanding and trying to work with them. That's my priority. I'm not even asking them to change. I'm being very vulnerable. When I'm expressing my perspective at that point, I'm being very open and vulnerable about it. It's up to them to decide what they want to do. If they want to work with me, great. If they don't want to work with me, I'll try to understand why first, before getting upset that they don't want to work with me. The biggest question that I need to like fully grasp is like, why are they doing what they are doing? What is their core motivation? What is really going on? Because it could be some like scenario where we actually totally understand what they're doing. We're like, yeah, I get why they're doing that. It could be reasons like, oh, maybe it's like a thing that they've learned and they don't mean any harm by it. Or maybe like, or what if it's like, oh, they have really shitty memories of times when they were in restaurants every fucking time. Or maybe it was like when they were at restaurants, they got yelled at by like their parents or some shit every time. Or they saw lots and lots of fights in restaurants or some like crazy situation or some shit. And their way of feeling, and maybe they have like some anxiety related to waiting at a restaurant. And so instead of like having to focus on, instead of having to relive that trauma, so to speak, they numb themselves out and they're like, okay. And then when food is there, maybe or something, then they like shift their behavior accordingly. If that was the problem, if that's what they were dealing with, I think people would be a bit more understanding of that in the first place. But if we assume some sort of character bias before then, we are fucked and we won't ever find that out. So to tack onto the question of how can you get into the mental courage in the first place to broach it, for me, the way that I think about it is just, hey, whatever thoughts we have, they could be right, but there are also other possibilities. There could be other possibilities for their behavior. It may not just be they suck or there's a personal problem or whatever. So just hold on to your thought. You might be misunderstanding something. It's possible. So reserve your thoughts for some time. Not saying ignore them. I'm just saying hold on to it and just see if there are other things that come into play. Try to understand the full scope of things. And what might end up happening, you might change your mind and not worry about it. You might realize, oh no, they actually don't suck. They're fine. I needed to understand more where they were coming from, and now I can actually understand what the real problems are. It's not what I thought they were. It's a different problem that requires a different solution. And Wizard, you're beating me towards follow-up questions. Maybe you should take my job. Okay, so April. It might be better, I guess, to get specific. The situation has been resolved on both ends. Okay, great. It's more something I'm asking to see if I probably make the best resolutions. I have a friend who easily can suffer sensory overload. Oh, okay. So they're wearing noise-canceling headphones at some places will go. It kind of often leads them to outside conversations I wanted them included with, and I kind of said, bro, why are you wearing those? I was rude to a point they left without announcing that they were. I didn't really tell them I don't like this before. Long story short, I apologized and we eventually reconciled over it, but I think I've just kind of come to a conclusion I'm okay with them doing it now after thinking it over. Also, for context, it's often places they pick, so it's not like we ended up at places not suited for them in my suggestion. So April, I think this is another great opportunity for you to try to understand more. If there is something that feels unsettled or like unfinished business, in other words, there's still some sort of problem that you're having, you could always just inquire more. You could always just try to understand and ask and to see how the two of you can align for the future. You can even ask, hey, like I've been reflecting on this and I don't feel like I really did you justice because I was really rude to you. And, and I was so rude to you that like you left, and I just am worried that there's something unresolved because of my behavior. In other words, you can just ask. If you need to revisit something and you're concerned about it, feel free to ask. Yeah, I have stuff that sometimes comes up that I'm insecure about or I'm worried about, and I'll ask about it. It's okay to ask. It's not like things are 100% perfectly resolved all the time. Sometimes there's a new development. That's okay. There's a constant expansion of understanding another person's perspective. It's just a discovery process. In the same way that our lives change and we change our minds and what we think about, what we feel about evolves in a slightly different way, it's the same thing for other people too, and that's just life. Nothing's exactly the same. There's a new day, a new time, a new development, new something. Who knows? Yeah, I think what you did was fine. I think it was appropriate for you to apologize, and I think you recognized, oh, it's not like a disrespect issue, it's a sensory overload. Oh, now I know it's a sensory overload issue. Let me see if I can work towards figuring out something that makes it better. I don't fully understand why they pick places. You could even ask, like, hey, like, I want to make you feel more comfortable and feel like we can have more fun, and I'm just kind of curious. And again, no judgments here. I just like to understand what makes you pick places that I'm guessing you're comfortable with, but then still do things to help reduce sensory overload. Like, I can't help but think maybe wouldn't it be easier to find places you like that don't introduce sensory overload? I mean, I'm guessing you've thought about this, but I'm just kind of curious, like, where you're coming from. That's what I'll ask. All right, out here. Thanks for dropping by. Holy shit, it's been 2.5 hours, bro. Jeez, I'm barely getting around to things. I'll probably just do another one tomorrow. Okay. So, Picanha, you asked the follow-up question. Yeah, the question was interesting. You're worried that they'll get angry, they'll launch into something brutal against me, like massive catastrophizing thoughts. Whenever you face that, same thing. Try to understand why. Just try to understand why. You don't have to agree with them getting upset and lashing out. Like, for example, I'll just be very upfront. Like, Cass gets upset with me to this day. Sometimes she'll, like, quote unquote, people will say, oh, she's stonewalling me. And I'm like, I don't really care. Yes, Mr. Good Cat. I'll get to that next. I'll get to your question next. Okay. So, Good Cat, I haven't gotten to your question yet. Because I was prioritizing those that were in attendance and filled out the form first. Okay. So, what is stonewalling? Just imagine someone like shutting down, not saying a damn thing. You say something and they do nothing else, or they don't respond. My problem is I can understand why the other person gets upset, launches into some personal problems they have with me, then I agree with them. So, I think I need more specifics, because I've had people get upset with me, but one thing that really helps is to understand why they're upset. If they bring up past personal problems they have with me, I'll usually focus on that first. Because if someone, say, blows up at me, like if Cass gets upset, like for example, this was more or less resolved. Still actually ongoing, I would say. Cass doesn't trust me to this day. I'm not like, oh no, it sucks. I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense. But she's not used to me being generous. And I remember, like, one of the more recent times she said that, I was like, wait, you're not used to me being generous? Does that mean I wasn't generous when we were married? She's like, no, you weren't. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like, no wonder you don't trust me and you're uncomfortable with it. It seems fake. So what she used to say when I'd, like, get her fill up her water bottle and things like that, she'd be like, I'm uncomfortable with this. And I took that to mean, like, okay, don't do it. Because I'm like, I don't want to make her uncomfortable. That goes against me. Okay, so there's a bunch of layers to this. Okay. Let me actually pivot to what you're saying, Picanha. Your problem is you can understand why the other person gets upset, launches into some personal problems they have with me, then I agree with them. So, like people never do, but I'm constantly paranoid they will. It's like my brain tells me my worst flaws so no one else can bring them up and attack me. Okay. Here's the thing. In my experience, a lot of the times when people are getting heated at you and bring up something from the past, it's a reflection of the pain they're in the present. For example, I'll relate this to Cass again. When I'm being generous to Cass, she distrusts the shit out of it. Not as much these days. She's very uncomfortable with it, and it kind of like triggers her a little bit. But inherently what I'm doing in the present isn't necessarily a problem. All right. I'm being generous. I'm giving her something nice. I'm getting her a gift. But it reminds her of a lot of past times, of a lot of past pains for her in the moment. It's a lot of stuff she hasn't had resolved within her. It's a problem she's facing in herself. And this event, or whatever, this discussion that we're having, brings that up unprompted. Right, so as Chicken Burrito says, like, if I were to get a cupcake, be like, what are you trying to do? What's your manipulative angle? My focus in that moment will be, yes, obviously this affects me. But even then, I will try to understand where is this coming from? Why they're saying this? Sure, okay, they're bringing up the worst flaws that they've had about me or something I've done in the past. They have personal problems about me. Okay, so I'm guessing this isn't resolved for them. Is the big thing I think about. I'm like, this isn't resolved for them. Maybe it's some shit I've done in the past that they can't let go, which means, hey, now that they're bringing it up, this is my time to try to address it and to help them resolve it. So again, sure, I might be scared they're going to attack me. And it feels like they're giving me a personal attack. But the way that I'll think about it is, they're doing a lot of this outlandish stuff because they really need to be heard. Like, now. So I will try to understand them first. Now, obviously, I'm not going to feel comfortable in terms of me being vulnerable to them. So you don't have to like be vulnerable, but you can. But I think you'd be very, very, very surprised how much, on average, people will usually calm down or feel like chill when they feel like they're being understood first. So what I would encourage for you, what I would encourage for you is that if you are constantly paranoid about it, is for you basically to kind of almost give yourself exposure therapy, if you will. Which is, what you could say when they're upset is, you could first try to see, all right, hey, I'm afraid of this person blowing up at me. I'm so fucking paranoid that out of nowhere, they're going to lose their shit and they're going to bring up every worst thing about me and like, it's going to break me on some level. And I'm scared of that. Okay. This is what I've experienced before. And I'm scared of that. But should that change whether I be understanding to them? And I don't think it should. Let me see what happens. Let me just see what happens if I focus on just trying to be understanding to them no matter what they say. I don't have to agree with it. Let me just see what happens. Let me see if I can get some new data. Once they feel like I understand them, let me say, hey, like, one thing, and you can always bring up your perspective to say, hey, like, I want to be understanding towards you. I want to be present for you. I want to give you what I think you're looking for. The only issue I have for me, and what would really help me, is if you were to say, and maybe you can't help it sometimes, but it would be really helpful for me if if I felt like I didn't have to worry about, feeling personally attacked sometimes. Just sometimes. That's not for me to sidestep the fact that I've done some terrible things to you, for example. I want to acknowledge that. It's just I personally get really scared about things, and like I get scared. I don't want to be scared anymore. I want to give you what you're looking for and for things to get resolved in a better way. That might be something I say. It's probably not worded the best. But even then, my priority is going to be to try to understand someone's perspective, because I operate under the assumption that if the other person feels like I understand them, then they're more likely to trust me and feel calmer around me anyway. And if I can see evidence that me understanding somebody and making them feel understood calms things down, then what starts to happen over time for me anyway, just by me taking that action, is that I notice, oh, it actually didn't go so bad. And then I can be like, wait, me taking that action made things better? Oh wait, they're actually like really nice to me? That was a fucking trip. Cool. Like, I used to be scared in many regards with Cassandra, because she would just like bottle everything up, and I was worried about her exploding in some way. And so I was like, oh no, is she gonna explode? And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't actually understand where she's coming from. I'm just afraid. And then when I understood where she was coming from, I'm like, oh, so I don't have to worry about this shit. Oh, that's really the problem. Oh, it's not that me being generous is bad and I'm a bad person. It's, bro, I just wasn't generous when we were married. And as soon as I understood that, I was like, oh my fucking God. I like relaxed. I was like, oh, that's fine. I'm good. I'm not worried anymore. Oh, that's simple. So I just keep doing good things and I keep being understanding towards her and things will get better. Okay, I'm not worried anymore. And then she's like, yeah, I don't like it when you're being generous. And now I'll ask her, I'm like, well, is it okay that I'm being generous? Or is it you just don't trust it based on the past? And she's like, I just don't trust it based on the past. I'm like, oh, okay. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, so is it okay that I keep doing this? I'm like, and she's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, better question. Would you like me to be generous? She's like, yes. I'm like, I know you're just not used to it. I'm like, so I guess we can just practice getting used to it. That's all. Boom, done. No worries. So then, like, I get her a hot water bottle that she can nap with in the morning. I love doing that. Or filling up her water bottle, getting her a nice little station, and like helping her be really comfortable or cooking for her. And I'm like, yeah, this is fun. You get to relax. I love seeing you relax. She's like, I'm not used to this. I don't trust this. I'm like, I understand. I just want to make sure I'm not doing something that's violating your consent because that's very important to me. Is it okay if I keep doing this? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. And then I keep doing it. So I think that could help. Oh no, Soul Pool, you've returned. Okay. All right, so good cat. I know that you're here now. So let me try to address it. I don't think there's anything major I've missed. Okay. All right, good cat, you here? Yeah, Soul Pool, I hope you're taking care of yourself, man. You're bleeding? Bleeding no good. Oh, I need to drink some water before I answer Good Cat's question. All right, great. All right, so Good Cat's question is, what's the best way to believe what you have done is actually important, that it actually has value? I have achieved many accolades and accomplishments, yet still struggle with self-esteem. So how do you believe that your deeds or kindness makes you a good person worthy of confidence and high self-esteem? I could do really well or accomplish amazing things, yet that validation doesn't last like it should for my self-esteem. I'm always puzzled by certain people are extremely confident even though they suck at almost everything and have achieved nothing. All right, this should be fun. All right, we did talk about self-esteem a little earlier today, so let me see if I can get my diagram up. Perfect. Okay. So when it comes to this, I'll address this thing first. Self-esteem comes in two parts. It comes with how we feel about ourselves, how good we feel about ourselves, and how good we are at actually doing the thing that we would feel good about ourselves doing. So to transpose this to Neo, I consider myself a good Neo player, and I feel good about it. I feel good when I do good things in Neo. But a lot of that is based on, as you talked about in your question, actually doing cool shit. But there's a lot of people who have a greatly inflated sense of self-worth where they're like, oh, I'm the best Neo player ever. And then you realize it's just because they can kill a boss. And I'm like, I mean, you're obviously competent at Neo, but I don't think you can make the claim that you're the best. And then sometimes people with inflated self-worth and who brag and boast about it, usually it's indicative of their actually have lower self-esteem, because usually someone who brags about it all day, all the time, usually won't make a stink about it. Usually people who are secure in themselves don't need to tell everybody about it. Kind of like, you know, in Game of Thrones with Joffrey, when he's like, I'm the king, and then I forget who says it to him. He's like, no real king has to keep saying he's king or something. It's something like that, right? So, as per your question, you notice, hey, I do a lot of great things, but I still feel like shit. So the first question I have for you, and well, the first thing I'll notice is, okay, you say you have incredibly great competence, and your self-worth is low. No true king needs to declare they are the king. Ah, yeah. So usually what I notice is that as people's competence grows, their confidence grows. But the thing is that usually people's confidence isn't growing because their sense of worth isn't actually dependent. It isn't internally based. It seems on average to be externally based. That's my guess. So let me ask you, good cat. Why? So you say you. Who is validating you here? Who determines whether you're doing good work? How do you know if you've done good work? Alright, so glad you found the band-aids. Because my guess, while you're typing something out, or if you're just listening, my guess is that your evaluation, how you evaluate your skills, is not really based on your own. There you go. Your partner, your family validates you. Yeah, it's external. The operative word in self-esteem is self. Let me ask you, good cat. If your partner did the work that you were doing, that you're talking about, accomplished the same things that you talked about, that you discussed, or that you're thinking about, how would you feel about their work? Would you think it's still shit? Would you feel it's unworthy? Or would you think it's more positive? You'd be impressed and happy, I figured. Right. To me, that shows you're not my guess is that you've experienced a lot of things in your life where other people have told you effectively you're not good enough no matter how perfect you are in some regards. Telling you your work sucks, isn't good enough, you weren't praised, your efforts weren't championed, none of that shit. In fact, I'm guessing you were devalued a lot in some way, shape, or form by somebody. To me, if that's the case, and I'm guessing it's the case, since you have a disparity between if you were to evaluate yourself versus you were to evaluate your partner, I think you're just not used to evaluating things by your own standard, by your own metrics. And I think when you are feeling crappy about your achievements, no matter how amazing they are, I would encourage you to look into the parts that are telling you this is shit. This is garbage. Because you already recognize, hey, if your partner did the same, you'd be over the fucking moon. But if you do it, it sucks. So why the double standard? Is what I would try to understand. Who is in your mind, who is telling you that you're not good enough based on these accomplishments? Who has said that to you? Is that something and obviously it's not true. It's not something you truly believe in, because the moment we remove all the baggage in your head and go for your partner's perspective, if she were to do it, or he or she was to do it, you're like, oh my God, I'm even impressed. So you just have a blocker in front of you. Usually I would recommend people work those things out in therapy, something to be talked about. I know for me, if I wasn't perfect, I was nothing. I very much got told that, like I was a failure for making a mistake. Legit. Oh, I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning and study for all my grades and get perfect grades when I'm like 8 years old. Therefore, I don't want to work. I'm not really working hard enough and I don't deserve the good things. Like, that's what I grew up with. It was perfection or nothing. That's a very damaging statement to have given to a child. So what started to happen? One, there were two modes. One, I would work my ass off, but nothing. My dad seems a bit insane. Yeah. He's, I don't speak to him anymore. My dad, oh man. He has loads of issues. But that's a topic for another time. But, I was severely devalued as a kid growing up. My efforts were, like, not appreciated. My sense of value, it didn't matter. If I got perfect grades or whatever, it was just expected. It was like, yeah, okay. Anyway, next. Not like, good job. You worked really hard for it, didn't you? Did you study? What'd you do? Hey, let's go get some ice cream. I want to celebrate it. Right, that's the thing. That's your childhood as well. I was an all-state in 2 sports, and you went Team 1 college and no one cared. Holy fuck, dude. Right. Imagine hitting the peak of something when you're a kid, only for it to not matter to anyone. The conclusion that I would make is, I just didn't do a good enough job. Imagine all the effort you had to put in to do that, and no one cared. Oh, that is a deep wound. And to me, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense why your sense of self-worth is so low, because that's a message you got. It doesn't matter how competent you are, it won't be enough. So that's obviously some baggage that you have. And I would encourage you to just look at, hey, how would you treat your partner? How would you treat someone you love and care about in the same situation? And if you find yourself then hating yourself in that moment, you can just let yourself know, hey, I understand where this is coming from in my head. I understand that this is the programming I had as a kid. But you know what? It is bullshit. I would never have my partner go through with this. So you know what I'd say to my programming? Fuck you, dude. I am going to celebrate this stuff because I fucking earned it. And you go ahead and kick and scream all that you want. I understand where you're coming from based on your dumb shit. But I don't agree with this form of thinking in the fucking slightest. And it's going to feel weird. Because of course it's weird. You've lived life on the other extreme. So it's going to feel like an extreme to celebrate your own victories. But again, if it feels extreme to you, think about how you would treat your partner. If you don't think it's extreme for you to celebrate your partner like that, then remember, it's just your past programming telling you it's extreme. You don't actually believe it's extreme. And that over time can help you understand, be not only a bit more objective about yourself, but help you make more changes to the way that you think too. That's what I do. For me, I have like damaged self-worth that I'm still building over time. The instant I think of Cass doing it, I'm like, no fucking question, this is how I would go about it. If she did this, oh, I'd be over the moon. I'm like, okay, I better do that for myself too. And then my system would be like, oh, but this is kind of weird, no, And then I'm like, wait a minute, I know this is the discomfort I'm coming to expect. I should celebrate this. I should acknowledge this. I should be proud of this. I did a lot to it. And then like I start to tap into like a lot of deeper pains, and it's like a unraveling process. But over time, now like if someone treats me like shit and I'm like, let me think about the whole situation holistically. And then I'll be like, wait, is there actually something I did wrong? Do I deserve this? Do I not deserve this? And sometimes I do deserve it. But other times when I don't deserve it, I'm like, oh, this is an easy decision now. I like the joke, Chicken Burrito. You got an A, why not an A+? I'll tell you my father, okay? I was like, well, what if I get it 100%? He's like, well, you should be getting 105%. Like, do extra credit. I'm dead fucking serious. You should get better than maximum grades. Now I'm like, are you fucking insane? This is absurd. The amount of times I've Heard similar stories makes me think this is a societal issue. Unfortunately, yeah. But don't have to listen to society in that case. Do what... When it comes to your own self-esteem or your sense of self-worth, make sure it's you're defining it. And so kind of the tip that I gave to Good Cat about flipping the situation, removing your own personal biases that you have programmed in yourself by seeing how you treat someone that you love and you care about, and then reflecting that onto yourself, I think you'll automatically be like, oh, these are my values. This is how I determine someone's worth. This is how I determine someone's competence. I'm going to practice that myself. Sundari dad, yeah, no. My dad is... Ugh. Llama, I have a Neo 2 question, please. Today is not going to be about Neo. If you have a Neo question, you can just put it in a comment on one of my Neo videos. All right, so Good Cat, it seems like I addressed your question. Let's see. Whose have I not addressed? Crimson Panda, Bean Busa, Soulpool told me to skip his. Ronan's I addressed. Ninu's I did address. Kodak's I haven't seen. Scampus, Zeta, and Gaki. And then who was the other one? Cram? Oh my god, Cramnon was here. Fuck, I missed this question. I'm pretty sure he's gone. I'll address this next time. Oh, Cram, you're still here? Okay, great. You're still here? Alright, your question. You're headed out shortly? Okay. Given the time, I don't think I'll be able to address this in full, but I think we've talked a lot about self-esteem, but I think your question's a little different, so I'll try to address it. I'll have a follow-up stream tomorrow, basically, about this. I need to take a break from Neo because my middle finger, like, hurts from pressing R2, like, 500 times. Okay, to expand upon this, how are you supposed to move from internal validation to from external? It's a practice, ultimately. I still do depend a little bit on external validation, but it's more like 10% of the time. I'll verify things. I'll verify things for sure. So, but the thing is, the way that I started moving from external to internal was thinking about what my own values were and what was most important to me and how I wanted to be, the type of person I want to be like. And focused on, hey, am I satisfying those values of who I want to be? If so, great. And then at that point, the shift changed. As opposed to people telling me how to behave, instead I have in my head my own model of how I want to be. How do I want to treat people? How do I want to act? And I might have like a level 1 version of what that definition is. And if someone gives me feedback, I'll look to see how I can use that to help me upgrade my own self, my own practice. So if someone says like, yeah, it's a practice. It's if you are used to a ton of external thoughts determining who you are, your own sense of identity. Let's say you've got 1,000 of those thoughts and you only have one based on your own internal system. What I'm going to say is rather than trying to kill the 1,000 thoughts like directly and not pay attention to external stuff, I will say you can accomplish both of those by just adding more internal thoughts. That's really about it. You'll move to more internal validation as you practice internally validating yourself or invalidating yourself sometimes. That's it. There is no magic recipe. Figure out what your values are, the type of person you want to be, and practice that. April, your questions are immoral. I am not answering them based on certain choice words. Let me know if that makes sense, Picanha. Because here's the thing. I get people's opinions. I get so much external input all the fucking time. No magic. How am I supposed to cheese Hiroko then? Get good, chicken burrito. That's what you do. It does, but it sounds near impossible. Probably low self-esteem. Bro, dude, I gotta tell you, I've had super shit low self-esteem. So terrible. Not only was when I realized, let me tell you this, when I started to see how my abilities in my marriage were shit, you bet my self-esteem crumbled. Crumbled. When I was getting divorced, oh, it was a fucking shock. Which now, like, me seeing, like, it was a shock at the time. Not anymore though. But the thing is, it's like, let's just say let's use an analogy. Let's say you're bankrupt, all right? You're bankrupt, emotionally speaking. But how do you get rich? Usually you invest. You invest, you get a job, you know, all those types of things. You start slowly adding money into your account. That's it. Your self-esteem will be low for a while. Getting to the outcome of having amazing self-esteem, worrying about that, in all honesty, will stress you the fuck out. And anytime you're like, oh shit, my self-esteem isn't as high as it could be, you'll feel worse. What I would encourage you to do is focus less on, oh, what the level of my self-esteem is, and focus on how can I grow my self-esteem today. That's it. How can you grow your self-esteem a little bit more? That's it. How can you get a little better at what you're thinking about, that you think is better as per your values? How can you feel a little bit better about yourself? And your self-esteem will go up if you just keep focusing on that. Anytime I have stress or I feel shit about something, my focus is on how can I make it a little bit better today than the day before. So with the whole bank account analogy, sure, you might be bankrupt. You might have no money in there. How can I add in just $1? $1. Permanently add one more dollar into my account. So, okay, you're saying it's weird though, when I'm doing something I'm good at, like at my job or playing a game I'm good at, the esteem and worth is so high that out in public in the world it crashes back down. Right, that's because self-esteem, like, all right, have a good night, wizard, thanks for hanging out. Right, Picanha, because in a vacuum, having perfect self-esteem in every area of life, again, good luck. There's some things we're good at, and some things we feel good about, and other places we're not. So naturally, if you're feeling shit about how you are in public or how you interact with the world, then yeah. Then I would say that's one area of your self-esteem that you could work on. But the process is the same. I'm sure when you're playing games or you're at your job, there was a point where you felt pretty garbage about it or not that good about it. But now, like, you've worked at it and you're pretty good at it now. But in those areas that are important to you, again, if you're feeling bankrupt in them, just add a little bit of money over time. Invest a bit over time. Eventually your bank account will reap dividends. Feeling better in one area of life will help you in another area of life. Feeling like you can make a difference and make things better in one area of life will usually translate to another part of your life, which then will help vice versa, kind of like a nice feedback loop. So I used to, yeah, just a little bit every day. That's it. Just a little bit every day. Because you can't, I can't tell you and you can't control the level of your self-esteem tomorrow. You have no, like, in the present moment, you can't do shit about the future. But what you can do in the present is invest towards the future. Can't control the future, can't change the past, but you can determine what you do today. So maybe there could be some skill you learn to help you in the public and the world. Maybe there could be a new way you change how you see things, how you feel about things for a little bit better. Usually what people do is therapy helps a lot with that. On average, therapists usually help with that. With my clients, usually if their partners are leaving them after like 10-20 years, it's usually because they're not that competent in their relationship. They just believe they are. All right, Soulpool. Thanks for dropping by. See, I think I'm, oh wow, it's already been 3 hours. Holy shit. All right, just a little bit each day. Just a little bit each day. All you got is today. Do what you can to increase your self-esteem today. And at any point, if you feel crappy about it, see how you can upgrade the way you improve your self-esteem. How can you get a little bit more competent in the world? How can you get and feel more confident about taking more risks? Naturally, when you're feeling like, oh shit, I kind of suck out in public and in the world, let that be an indicator that, hey, maybe there's something I need to work on that can help me feel better about it. As you get better and better being out in the world and in public, whatever that looks like to you, naturally what will happen is you will feel more confident about things. You'll try new things. Like, back to the whole bank account thing. If you have $0, you're probably not going to invest, and let's say you get like $10 in your account, you're probably not going to invest $10 because you're going to fucking need that money for bills or whatever. So you'll prioritize just putting enough money into that bank account first. Totally normal. But then once you're like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my bank account. I've earned a lot. There's a lot of stuff in there. You know what I can do now? Now I can take some risks. Maybe I got enough in my savings account now. Maybe I want to start investing. I'd learn some new skills about how to invest. And then you start raking in more money, and then you're compelled to take certain risks. Or maybe you don't have to, I don't know. But then what starts to happen over time is that as you're practicing all these new skills, and as the fuel in your tank, so to speak, starts filling up, you can take more risks to fuel your bank account even further, to get more and more and more wealth over time. But each of those things that you do is an individual decision. So just take it day by day. And over time, your self-esteem will increase. See how you can make decisions that make things go better. I'm sure you'll make mistakes. I'm sure you'll fuck up. And that's normal. See what you can do to learn about them. You have a certain skill set that's here that will only take you so far. When you try that out in the world or in public, it's going to fall flat on its face to a certain degree. Try to understand why it did, so that you can increase your own competency. You increase your competency, try something again, a little trial and error. You'll do better, you'll get better results. You'll feel better. Then you'll try more. And you keep upgrading, you keep growing. And then one day, you'll be like, holy shit, I'm not that scared anymore. I don't need to be. I've built up a sense of self-esteem that can never be taken away. Leaning into those challenges, right? It's all about trying and finding an appropriate level of challenge. lean into an appropriate level of challenge. Don't do something too crazy. Your system will scream at you for that. Don't do something like too simple. Like you know this from video games. If you fight like an easy boss, you're not really growing. If you fight a boss that's too hard and like you struggle for like 10 fucking hours, usually people are gonna say like, bro, take it easy. But you want to find that like nice sweet spot where you feel like you're improving. And when you feel like you're improving and you can see that what you're doing is actually making a good difference, you bet it boosts confidence. For the whole bank analogy thing, if I can see that an investment that I made actually pays off, oh, I'm going to feel good about my ability to invest. So I might invest more. And then I'll start to feel like, whoa, I'm actually pretty good with money now. I don't have to worry as much. I don't have to like stress out as much anymore. I don't need to. I can autopilot this shit. I can make good decisions. But a lot of that comes through trial and error. And like you said, it is all about trying. Try something, see what you can learn from it, from whatever you can to upgrade it to keep improving yourself. Nah, it's just luck, my dad probably. Yes, someone who doesn't have an understanding. I mean, again, I don't know much about investments or stock market or anything like that. It's just a loose analogy. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, dude, I've been on for 3 hours and 10 minutes. This is ridiculous. I unfortunately did not get to answer Cram's question. I don't know if he's still here. How many did I answer? I answered like... Who did I answer? I didn't address Swole Pools. I did April's, Good Cats, Nino and Ahiru, and that was it. So like 4. 4 questions and a lot of discussion. I had fun. Well, all right then, guys. I guess I'm going to stop here for today. So what I will say is that even though I didn't get to address everybody's questions that I wanted to, I guess I'll just do this tomorrow as well, in all honesty. I'll try to catch up with some questions. So if I didn't address your questions or anything like that, I'll try to see what I can do tomorrow. Well, cool. Thanks for the stream. Hey, I'm glad you guys were here. I had fun, even though I didn't play Neo at all, which admittedly is a bit strange. And even though not necessarily the most people showed up, I had a great time just chatting with all of y'all, so I'm inclined to do this again. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'm not going to make any clips out of this or anything, but if you want to check out the VOD, we can chat about this. If this was of interest to you and if you would want to see more, I guess let me ask you guys, would you want another one of these? Would you like a follow-up to this? Would you like this to be a thing? Because I'm happy to do it if there's enough interest. Yes, definitely. Okay. All right, great. They're coming for the next one at least? Yeah, fair. This is more fun than you thought? Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Following it up was interesting. Yeah. I did not realize it would take so long for all this stuff. But okay, so yeah, then what I'll do is I'll try, I might make this thing for the weekends. Maybe. We'll just see how interest for this is. But yeah, so I'll stop here. I'll pick it up. I'll continue with the questions for tomorrow. So yeah, it could be cool. In any case, thank you all so much for watching. It was a pleasure to have you all. And hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow. Take care and bye.